want to welcome you to another very special episode of Media from the Heart. My name is Ruth Hill and I'm your host. And this is going to be a record podcast episode. Why, you ask? Well, not only is it my longest podcast episode to date, over 2 hours long. Yes, I know, and I'm just warning you up front so that you know if you want to break it into parts, I understand that completely. But it's also a return. First, I've had somebody come back. KAREN SCHALER, my very good friend. She was one of my very first podcast guests last year. And here she is, coming on my podcast again. And we had the absolute best conversation. I've had the opportunity to meet her. I have had the opportunity to chat with her at length. And this podcast, you are going to have so many delightful stories from Miss KAREN SCHALER. If you don't know her, the reason I didn't start off with any clips from this interview is because I wanted to just dive right in. There is so much you don't need to hear from me. You need to jump in and hear from KAREN. So without further ado, take it away, KAREN. I want to welcome you to another episode of Media from the Heart. My name is Ruth Hill. I'm your host. And today we have a very special guest. She is returning to my podcast, which is so cool. This doesn't always happen, but I'm so glad. KAREN SCHALER, my very dear friend, has returned. So thank you so much for coming on. I'm so glad you're here.
Thank you so much for having me. I feel so blessed to be able to be here again and have more stories to share and new projects. I love this so much, and thank you for what you do, uplifting us all and letting us share and what's new coming up.
Well, KAREN, I am so honored that you are here. You're such a supporter of mine. And it was such a joy to meet you last summer. I still remember it. And, even my daughter Martha talks about meeting you. I can't tell you how many times she knows. All I have to say, KAREN, she knows who KAREN is.
I love Martha. Martha's amazing. You raised such a beautiful daughter. And I love that you both, are from Washington State, which is where I grew up. I left home pretty early, but it's just, I feel like that connection and meeting you guys and being able, it's one thing when we do this, but to be able to give you a hug and kind of share more personally, that was everything to me. So I've loved watching your growth, Ruth. I mean, I'm so proud of you, of everything you've done. You've always done for others. You always are here to tell actors, directors, writers. You're always here to uplift us. And I just want you to know how much we love you and we want to uplift you as well because we support you. And watching your journey and your growth, I feel like we're sisters. I'm just so proud of you.
Oh, well, thank you, KAREN. Honestly, the feeling's mutual. I mean, it means so much to have your support, and your kind words mean so much to me. But it's like, but to see what you have built, I mean, this Christmas empire that you've built. I mean, that's kind of.
I love that Christmas empire. Maybe that could be a movie name, Christmas Empire.
Why not? It could be lots of fun. Now, KAREN, you've been on the show. I don't want to now. Sure, I could read a super long bio, but what I'm going to do is I'm just going to read a little bit just for those who may not be familiar with KAREN. I just want to give you a little bit about who she is so that maybe you'll say, oh, that's who she is. So KAREN SCHALER is a 3-time Emmy Award-winning storyteller, screenwriter, producer, author, and national TV host. And we've got an Audible thing coming, which we'll talk about too. She has written at least, I don't know, it's 4 original movies. Is that still correct?
Yes, it's 4 movies that have been made, other movies in the pipeline. Good one. It's hard my family can't keep up.
Yeah, right. So 4 original movies for Netflix, Hallmark, Lifetime, and including the Netflix hit A Christmas Prince. You guys, if you have not seen A Christmas Prince, I highly recommend it. While also writing, is it still 5 novels?
No, it's 6 with my little baby that just came out a couple days ago. Right. This is my 6th. So excited. I can't believe that because you and I talked when it was my first in 2018. Exactly. How has the time just crazy?
Exactly. And so you might know her. You might have seen Christmas Camp on Hallmark. You might have seen A Christmas Prince on Netflix. which is still an incredible, still an incredible movie. And then, of course, there were sequels to it, which you didn't actually write, but your characters were part of those. So your name's
Absolutely.
still there, which is
The
absolutely
storyline and characters were mine, but I actually went off to write a Lifetime movie starring Tony Braxton. Let me think. Tony Braxton, you don't say no to a multi-Grammy winner. And felt very blessed. That's Every Day is Christmas. And then the following year also did Rediscovering Christmas for Lifetime. But literally, I think it was in 2 years when I quote broke in, I had like 4 movies, 3 novels in 2 years. I mean, that's when you and I met. And, I went down that Christmas rabbit hole, and it was amazing. And now we even have more projects to talk about, which is exciting because I hope that people just embrace, I write that feel good, uplifting, wholesome, clean type of movies that, if you watch Hallmark, Lifetime, Netflix, but I'm in that lane in my novels as well. And in my audio stories, the romantic comedies. So I feel like they're very current, they're fresh, and they're still realistic. But, we're not shooting anybody. There's nobody doing, falling down drunk at a Christmas party. That's just really not my thing. Not that there's anything wrong with that, but that's not the lane I'm in. So, I've stayed in my Christmas lane and loving it.
right. Well, it just amazes me because I think of when we first chatted back around the time when Christmas Camp had come out, and how much I loved that movie. I still have such fond memories of that movie, even though now I know that it's on Hallmark. And what was really wild about, I know we've talked about this before, but just to give context here, Christmas Camp, when it first came out, it came out for Christmas in July, of all things.
Actually, wait, we have to go back because I don't know if a lot of people know this, Ruth. I don't even know if we talked about it. It actually was first released in movie theaters.
That's right.
Before Christmas in July.
That's right.
So this, when you write a movie for Hallmark, they had partnered with another company, and that's way above my pay grade, how all of the releasing works, and all of that. But next thing I knew, I thought it was coming out in 2018. Christmas Prince came out in 2017. So the actors, the director, we all thought it was Christmas 2018 for this Hallmark movie, Christmas Camp. After I wrote the movie, I wrote the book, Christmas Camp and Christmas Camp Wedding, because we had talked about making it a wheel. That's where you'd always have a different year and new people coming to Christmas camp, kind of like Christmas boot camp, Christmas therapy. Very fun, very lighthearted, different people that need to find their Christmas spirit. So I quickly wrote it with HarperCollins, said, okay, we're going to give you this 3-book deal and we want you to write it and it'll be released at the same time. And we weren't hearing from Hallmark, which is very common. You talk to a lot of actors. We never really exactly know when a movie's going to come out, again, above our pay grade as a writer. But all of a sudden I had a friend in Toronto say, your movie's playing in a movie theater, meaning that's a theatrical release, which is totally different than a television release. It's actually, now like a theatrical movie. And I flew up to Toronto and saw it. I mean, I bought a ticket, I had popcorn, and it was in October, like right around this time of year. Because I remember they had Halloween, one of those scary movies, as well. And here's my little sweet Christmas Camp movie poster. Right. But yes, and that's also why that you don't see Christmas Camp in the ongoing repeat, right? Because what happened, a lot of people go, I never saw it. And, where is it? Because it went with the release in 2018. And then Ruth, you're exactly right. That following year, it was their Hallmark's lead for Christmas in July. And then it went into DVD.
Yep.
So, you can find it on Amazon Prime. It's, a couple dollars, but it immediately had a different kind of release. So I was sad because, of course, we want it to be part of that Hallmark Christmas tradition that you see over and over and over again. But I guess, I hate having people having to buy it, but you can get it that way too. And it was fun because I wrote the book after, but I want to say, because I know we're going to talk about so many things today, but you guys, if you're any writers out there that are aspiring writers that are curious about writing books or screenplays or just how it works, when I talk to a lot of folks that are writers or do writing classes, and I do a lot of public speaking, I wrote the movie Christmas Camp first. Then I wrote the novel very quickly so they could ideally release, we thought, at the same time that December. So I used the movie as an outline, and it was literally the book and movie were the same. You don't see that. We all see book adaptations that are much different, and there's a lot of reasons. But a good example in Hollywood is that there were so many changes that had to be done. I had this huge sledding scene, kind of like I did in A Christmas Prince, and everyone loved it. Everyone approved it all the way up the food chain. But then when they started to shoot, it turns out instead of Canada, they actually shot it in upstate New York in like, July, and it was 100 degrees. And to try and recreate snow on a hill and sledding would have been very, very time consuming and expensive. So that got cut. And there were so many things that got cut. And so I always tell people it's really fun to read the book first, then watch the movie, and you can really see what it means when they have to adapt and make changes, even though they were done the other way around. And that's why I started writing novels, because people say, you're a screenwriter. What are you doing writing books now? But it's because I realized I didn't have that control as a writer, especially of a feature. You give it back, you give it to the director, and now it's the director's baby. And they work with actors and the network and all the people that bought the movie. They become the boss of that movie. And it's going to change a lot to adapt to what is best for the viewers. So as a writer, you don't get a lot of the say in that. Yes, you can do rewrites and, you're part of it, but you can't really, you fight for a few of the darlings, we say, but at the end of the day, you're hired to do what they want you to do with your story. So I always say, if you're precious about your story, you guys, if you're writers, also write the novel, because then you have control. Then you get to be the director. Then you get to be, kind of do that. So that's why we'll be talking later. I just had a novel release that I actually have the movie for that I'm working on as well. But I kind of call the novels my therapy, because that way I make sure the story is told the way I want to tell it. Until I have millions of dollars and I can be a network or a director, this is my best way to have the best of both worlds. See, we're already giving you behind the scene tips here.
That's right. I know. I love it. I love it. Karen, you could just like share all this stuff, and I just sit back and, go for it. You're so good at being able to share all these things, and you're always giving. That's something that I appreciate so much about you, Karen. I've noticed it when you've been at these conventions, like at Rama Drama. And you're always giving, and like anybody comes up and asks you for advice, you're always willing to do it. It's never like, oh no, somebody else is coming up asking me for advice, or I've answered this question 100 times. But it's like you're answering it for the first time. You always have that excitement. And I love that about you.
Thank you. Well, Ruth, that means so much to me, because really, it's like, when you write, you're in a bubble by yourself. And I was a journalist for so many years, and I was traveling internationally. I do a travel show. I've been to 68 countries. You guys can tell I'm pretty outgoing, right? And I love people and I love interaction. But as a writer, it's very isolating. And I'm writing for you. I'm writing for my listener, my reader, my viewer. And to be able to interact, and I want to give back. I didn't have an agent or a manager. I didn't have any of those ways into Hollywood. And I really went, the school of hard knocks, kind of, just knocking on doors, getting kicked out, jumping through windows instead. And so if there's one tip I can give anybody at any time, I'm going to stop and do it. I feel like I've been given a gift, truly a gift and a blessing to be able to do what I do. And I'm going to give back. As a matter of fact, you guys, okay, I'm telling you guys, because it just happened. And not that I have time for this craziness, and not that it's bad, but it's just like another thing to add to the to-do list. I just jumped into TikTok. And the reason I did wasn't to dance. You will not see me dance, although I shouldn't say that. If there's a Christmas song, maybe no dancing. But what I thought was, somebody said exactly, it was just like what you were saying, Ruth, that I was good at giving tips for writing. And I've been doing a lot of these Christmas camps that we can talk about, but there'll be writing groups that also want to write and they want inspiration. And they said, why don't you get on TikTok, showing my age. Why don't you get on TikTok and give writing tips and kind of these behind the scenes stories? So I don't know what I'm doing, but it's the same exact way. And I'm not 20, it's the same exact way that I wrote my first movie. I researched. So I'm literally scrolling, and I became completely addicted, because it is addicting. I'm like, oh my gosh, I love these dog videos. Oh my gosh, I love these inspirational videos. Yep. So I studied it. I studied the hashtags, but still, I don't know what I'm doing. So I posted my goal was, my book came out last week. My goal was to be on for the book launch, and I have a lot of things in my personal life. Unfortunately, my dad is, he's everything to me. I'm an only child. He's an only child, and he's had a lot of health issues. So that is a lot of my time and energy. And so I thought, do I really have time? But it was a way to give back and another way to reach people. And so I think it was my third post I did about 5 things about writing the Netflix movie, A Christmas Prince, that people didn't know, kind of that behind the scenes. And again, I don't know much about this. I had posted one, and I'd gotten, I don't know, a couple hundred views, I guess. I'm like, cool. If a couple hundred people saw it, awesome. And all of a sudden it had like 100,000 views and I had like 500 comments. And now I think it's up to 160,000 views because people love A Christmas Prince and they have such good questions. So I make a commitment to anyone here watching as well, you know, whether it's today and we're live or this is posted, I will jump on probably at 3 a.m. and I will answer your questions, or, you know, I will do everything I can because that's what I'm here for. So it means a lot that you say that because I just wanted, and TikTok, okay, you can find me at my name. So it's Karen Schaler. That's super easy. I posted one today that was new for me. I'm trying to learn different things because I just got my hardcover. And I was so excited. And they have, you know, TikTok has these trends and all of that. And there's a song that says, it's finally here. It's finally here. It's finally here. Some silly little thing. So if you go on TikTok today, you'll see it. It's just like this box. It's kind of like an unboxing of the hardcover, you know, but I will say that I've had fun with it because I'm connecting with people like we are doing today. And I really find that it started with COVID. And when I left New York City, where I was at the time living full time and started doing more of this, that you guys have all really uplifted me. And it's the way I've kept going, the way I've kept writing. So, I mean, of all the things you could say to me, Ruth, that is probably the kindest. So thank you for recognizing that. I really, really love to try and help people and reach out. And isn't it true, you guys, like when you're having a hard time, whatever it might be in your life, maybe it's family, maybe it's professional, and someone calls and they want help with something, don't you feel better helping them? Because maybe there's an area in your life you can't fix, you can't control, you're stuck, but you could answer a simple question to someone else or uplift someone else. And it makes me feel like, okay, I can get through this day. You know, I made a difference somewhere. Maybe in my personal life, things are super hard, but if I can help someone else. So that's the sweetest thing you could say. Sorry, I didn't mean to gush, but I just wanted to share that and my embarrassing TikTok that I don't know what I'm doing. So if anyone watching does, please leave comments. Nice ones. Because, you know, my hashtag was Christmas Karen before the whole Karen thing happened.
Yeah.
So I'm like, I'm the nice Karen. I am not the mean Karen. Right. So yeah, there's that too. But okay. So thank you. I just had to say that because that really touched my heart.
Well, good. I'm glad that just, isn't it cool how you say something? And what I've discovered is that I'll say something to someone, even just randomly. And it's nice, but then I forget about it. And then like a week later, I'm getting a message and I'm thinking, what on earth did I even say? Have you ever been there? Like,
yes.
Oh, that's right. I said that. Oh, and that meant, and you really genuinely meant it, but because it's so much a part of who you are, mm-hmm. and you just did it, and it's like you just go and did it, and you took maybe 5 or 10 seconds, maybe literally, to just write something quick to somebody, and it made their whole day. And you're just
exactly.
Like,
and it can make, and just like the words of kindness, can do that so much. I started with the pandemic to doing three things at the end of the night. I have someone I call every night that was kind of helping me virtually with my dad, also doing calls, and we compare notes, how's it going? And it was a lot. And so we would say, let's do 3 things we're grateful for. And we all know that gratitude is everything. But it's been now since COVID. It started actually February 2020 is when my dad first got sick. And right before COVID, was a big thing. And so I've been doing that every single night, 3 things I'm grateful for. And it means everything to me. There are days, I'll be honest, y'all, I'll just go, I am just grateful that I am here because I'm just beat up, and I'm exhausted. When people see this is real, Ruth met me, this is my energy, this isn't put on, I'm not an actor, goodness knows. But I love life. I wake up every day positive. I wake up every day saying it's a new day. I try so hard, but I don't, because that's what people see on my social media and when I speak. And I don't share a lot of my personal life because it involves other people and I want to protect their privacy. So you don't see the struggle, but I try to be real with you all whenever I can, that I have the struggles too. I am struggling just like you guys, but I choose to try and be here and be present and show up and be grateful and inspire each other. And that's what, it's a great segue into writing these Christmas movies. And I just saw they're starting, on Friday, which is like, I love it. I'm all for it. I told somebody, I know on one of my little TikToks, I was introducing myself. I don't think you're supposed to do that. I think I already broke a rule. But I was saying that if you're not someone that thinks you should, talk about Christmas until after Thanksgiving, you might not want to follow me because we're going to be doing that. But I love it. Even before, I think there's room to have Halloween and Thanksgiving and give them their due and still have Christmas. I mean, come on now. Obviously, I have a 10-foot Christmas wall in my living room. I am committed. So I'm excited to see it and to start seeing these movies come out and these novels come out. It's so much fun.
No, yeah, no, I agree with you 100%. So let's talk about, you have a new book out.
I'm so excited.
And
you know what? And I love this because you shared with me that you have a lot going on in your life, Ruth. And you're like, to be honest, I don't get a chance and the luxury to sit down and read, a traditional book. And I think it was last year, A Royal Christmas Fairy Tale, my Christmas rom-com I wrote after writing A Christmas Prince. Yeah. And you said that you got hooked, which made me so happy. Yeah. And I'm hoping this is like the same one, because this story, I want to just read it's just the one-liner, because it kind of summarizes it, and you'll see where it's a little different from some of my other ones. It's the first time I've put a little bit of a mystery spin. So besides the rom-com that we normally have, there's a little bit of a mystery that carries throughout. And so this line says, I should hold it up so you can see the cute book and not my little charming face. It says, Libby is planning to spend the holidays alone until a mysterious Christmas card takes her on a life-changing journey where she discovers a family she didn't know she had and a love she was never expecting to find. And the reason that this was really special is I had this idea right at 2018, right when I was writing the Christmas Prince and the Hallmark movies and the Lifetime movies. I had the concept for this, and we do what's called a one sheet. And that's, people say, how do you sell these ideas? And you send it to producers that send it to the network, or you can send it directly to the network if you have that relationship. And so I had sent this to a network that wanted to do this story. But of course, there was something else they needed more that year. So I did something else for them. But this was always on the back burner. And then the next year happened. And so when I went around, I thought, you know what, this year I can write the novel and then I can write the movie. I can do it, the other way, the more traditional way. And as I was writing it, it was, your typical, what you see on Hallmark and Lifetime and Netflix, where there's a little town and there's a relationship and all, blah, blah, blah. And I don't mean that's bad. That's my, Christmas candy. I love watching it. But I wanted more. I wanted that found family. I wanted a family dynamic. I wanted it to be a little bit more in depth, a little bit deeper. And I wanted it to be something that could really maybe touch people in a different way, make them look at their own lives and family relationships beyond the romantic comedy. So you guys, I was like, the reason the Audible book, this came out Tuesday, and it is in, we call it trade paperback because it's a little bit bigger. And then we have a hardcover, the ebook, of course, and the audio normally comes out the same date. It's going to be out November 1st, just in a week and a half. That's because I got them the files or the script late. I still call it a script, even though it's a manuscript, I still call it a script. And it's because I was on page 220 of this, the original story I had in 2018, when I decided, no, a lot's changed since 2018, right? We've all been through a lot. And I decided to kind of broaden it, make it richer. So I started over. And this was like, it was due in a month. So then I had to hurry and get it done. But isn't it funny that the hardest book to write is the reviews have been the most heartfelt? People have said this kind of had made them call people in their life that they maybe hadn't called. This really made people think. They said they laughed, they cried. So I just think that it's this fun, uplifting story. And I guess it's the year to do things a little bit different. This on the house, we haven't talked about this, and I haven't put this on social media yet. It's all new. This is a real bed and breakfast. And for those of you that know, I do a travel show. You can go to traveltherapytrips.com. Of course, it was paused during COVID, and I'm waiting till next year because we still are dealing with COVID to really, ramp it back up again. But this is an actual bed and breakfast that I have been to in New Brunswick, Canada, in the town of Fredericton. It's called the Quartermain House B&B. And when I stayed in it, it reminded me of a Hallmark movie. I took a picture of it, and then I called the owner that I've stayed in touch with because it's charming inside. It's just like the character Cece's house that I described. And so she sent me a picture with her permission. Our cover artist turned it into this beautiful artwork. And this actually exists. So when you read the story, if you want a really affordable but magical place to stay, go to Canada. Plus our dollar is really strong in Canada, but that's what's most like to me, very inspiring. And you'll read the dedication and the acknowledgments. And one of the people that I'm really, really close to in tourism, she's battling a health issue right now. And so I wanted to dedicate this book to her because she took me here and she has shown me so much in her life. And I just want to share the dedication. I haven't done this with anybody yet. Well, actually, let me read it exactly. And then I want it to be maybe something that could inspire you guys when we say maybe you take away one thing, from when you listen to one of Ruth's fabulous podcasts. So the dedication is really small. It's just a couple words, but it says, I'll wait to see. I won't read her full name, but I'll put, for Heather, you will always be in my lifeboat. And the reason that is when we were traveling, she was explaining, I think I was right in the middle of doing my Netflix movie, my first movie, and also dealing with the Hallmark movie. A lot was going on. And, Hollywood's tricky and navigating and learning, all these things I didn't know. And I was sharing some of those struggles with her. And she said, on your journey, she said, think of it as a lifeboat. You can have these amazing friends in your life and you adore them. But when you have a lifeboat, you can only bring 4 or 5 people with you in this lifeboat. And she goes, I have best friends in my life that I would not put in the lifeboat because maybe they complain, maybe they're negative, maybe they're lazy, maybe they don't contribute. They're great people and they're still my friends. So in my lifeboat, I'm going to have someone that's positive. I'm going to have someone that's going to uplift others. I'm going to have someone that we can survive. And so when I was kind of starting this new journey into screenwriting and being an author and all of this, you should pick your lifeboat carefully. Surround yourself with people that are going to be there for you. And she told me after I'd known her about 2 years, and she said, you would be in my lifeboat. It makes me cry because that to me, what an honor, what an honor to be in somebody's lifeboat. But I encourage everyone to think of who they would put in their lifeboat. And Shonda Rhimes, if you haven't read, she's so amazing as a screenwriter, Grey's Anatomy, all of these, obviously Bridgerton, so many amazing things as a writer. I mean, she is the person I would aspire to, work under and learn. I mean, she's just so amazing. And she has this great little book out. You can almost read it in a day. It's called The Year of Yes. And it's all about how you would think, here she is famous, and Barack Obama is inviting her, to something. And she was saying no to things for a lot of social anxiety reasons and a lot of different reasons. And so she decided for 1 year to say yes and to do things that she wouldn't normally do. So Shonda was in my head when I decided this year. And when you say something and you have no idea, I was just talking to someone doing an interview for the book. And they started talking about this audio project that we'll get to. But I said, and I talked about TikTok. And then I talked about this other thing I was telling you, that like these are all brand new. And I said, well, if you always do what you've always done, you'll always get what you've always gotten. So you have to try new things. And that phrase stuck with them so much. They used it and they put it on their promotions and they said, wow, what words to live by. And so, those words that I read of Shonda, I'm keeping them with me. Hopefully, if you read or watch one of my shows or now listen, there's some inspiration in there. One of my favorite quotes that I keep putting in my head this year, especially the last 3 years with choices I have to make of career, family, these balances. I mean, obviously family always comes first, but it's tough when you're still trying to, work as well. And it's there's this great line in one of my in my Toni Braxton movie that says, you make time for the people that matter most and the things that matter most. So when we're all busy and when we're all crazy and you say, I don't have time. But it's funny that I'm even learning from my own lessons that I put in a book as I write them as quickly as I talk, which is, as you see, fast. And then all of a sudden a word or a sentence will come back to me and really resonate. So I just think that, that's kind of what it's all about, trying to give back, which is kind of the theme. And so in this story, I want to know, because Ruth, you've started reading it. What have you liked so far? What's resonated with you?
Well, the first chapter was so fun. I mean, I didn't expect it to be as funny as it was. That kind of took me by surprise because I'm getting ready to go to bed. It's like, and then I just start laughing because I'm like, oh my goodness, this was an unexpected thing. And so now as I read through it, well, I love the fact that she's a marketer, since that's what I had been.
Of course, I thought you might connect with that.
Oh yeah. It's like I'm thinking, yeah, I like the way she's, and I like the fact that where they are in Holly Peak, that they're trying to keep things traditional, but they also want to win this competition. So
And that's the battle. Yeah, that's the battle between, you have I love it because Libby is like Ruth. She's young, she's hip, she started her own social media company, but she's had loss. She just lost her mom. She's trying to keep the family home. She's on her own, only child. This was her only family left. So she's put her whole heart and soul into the social media company. She believes social media can help people. She's not trying to make money, hawking makeup or something like that. I mean, she wants to help people get their message out. And that came from me, kind of what we just shared about wanting to share and wanting to, help people. And so when she meets Adam, right, he's this great guy that's left the big time to go to a small town to give back as well. He has that same altruistic, ideals. And while he's all for hip and happening and technology, when it comes to this town that's all about nostalgia and Christmas, he wants to keep it that way because their competition town to win the best town in the Northwest is using like techno disco, and is using all of this crazy pants stuff. Nothing wrong with it, but he really believes if we lose the nostalgia and the tradition now, what do we have? And that came from, you never know when you write, it all comes from something. I kind of was thinking about our Christmas movies we're seeing, right? Like we've always had this nostalgia. And I just do one of my TikToks, I say like the 5 tips of writing a Christmas story. And one of them is that Christmas, the number 1 tip, has to be the main character. Just because they're selling like crazy, you can't take a regular story and go, I want it to be Christmas so I can sell it, throw in a Christmas tree and call it Christmas. It needs to be the heart of the story. It needs to be the theme. It needs to be, the main character. And I'm seeing a lot of people jumped in after Christmas Prince, that success, when networks started buying more and more and more Christmas products, Christmas stories. Everyone's like, I want to get in, and they just toss around Christmas. And, then, they do some that were kind of crass and like, and there'd be like profanity, sex, drugs, rock and roll, at Christmas. And again, I'm not a prude. I think there's some great romantic comedies. I definitely, have watched some that have all of that in it. But I think that Christmas still is Christmas. And, you need to honor that and have the nostalgia. And I think ones that do will continue to be the ones that we love. I mean, even ones like Elf, people go, well, Elf was a silly comedy. No. It's all about a boy trying to find his dad. And it's all about a dad that, kind of made some poor choices about being a workaholic. I mean, there's heartfelt moments even in Elf, so I try to think that when you're reading, and I'm writing these stories, it's funny how little things that are happening in the world will influence it, So how far did you get? Where are you at? Where did you end?
I am just a little over halfway. I think I have, the last thing I was reading was that, she's just trying to convince him about
the social media,
and because she's gone on the line and said, look at what the other town's doing. And so I think that was like that was what I was reading last night.
Oh, it's going to be so much fun, you guys. I think this one and the mystery, we won't give it. There are spoilers, so we will not be giving spoilers here. But I really see it. And because I saw it as a movie first, the biggest compliment I get, reviewers that got early reviews of it to read said, I feel like I'm in a Hallmark movie. I feel like I'm in a Netflix movie, and I can see it. And that's just what's such a blessing, which is why when Audible reached out this year and talked to me about a very special project, I am visual. Like I've been in TV news. I see things before I write them. I actually make like a Pinterest vision board. So when I talk about the cafe, I go and I look for things, and I like to create like a vision board before I write. I can see it. I create my covers for my novels before I do anything. If I can't see it, I can't write it. And so Audible, and I've been dying to tell you this because we should have our fun folks that have joined us, that have been taking time out of their day, see if we can do some guessing, because Audible is giving me permission. This is super excited, because when you sign any deal, as you guys know, whether it's publishing, movies, anything, you have a confidentiality because they get to be the ones to announce the big story first. Well, they're getting ready to announce in the marketing, and I literally listened to the audio files for the first time last night, and we're doing like final tweaking in the notes. And I'm so excited. And I said, well, I'm doing this podcast, and, this is a friend of mine. It's become a friend in the industry, and, it shares with so many people. Can I just share a little itty bitty bit about it? Because, we have so many Hallmark fans, and Christmas loving fans that watch it. And so what happened with this was, I love all of my books. So to explain, because, I put him, where'd he go? Oh, there he is. I say it's a he. I don't know why, but today this one's a he. So all of my stories, my 6 novels, they're all have been made into audio books. That's what you guys are mostly used to, where this story will have one narrator. It'll be about 15, 16 hours, depending on how many pages it is, 12 hours, and you listen. Well, Audible started doing something that's so much fun, a really throwback to the past. They called scripted Audible Originals multicast. And what that is, it is written like a movie. So it is not a novel. It is written in a screenplay format, just like I would write a movie in that software. And a whole cast is hired. So when you're listening, it's only going to be an hour and a half, 2 hours ish. Mine's coming in at about 2 hours, just like a movie. You're going to hear all the different parts. You're going to hear crunching in the snow. You're going to hear the horse hooves. You're going to hear the tea kettle whistle, you know? And as a writer, when they reached out, they said, for our Audible original program, we're going to release 5 or 6 Christmas exclusively, meaning you can't get the book, you can't get the movie, you can't get any of that. Audible has it first. And so they usually hire authors to do that. But there's only one Christmas multicast because that's special, right? That's going to take a lot more production to hire actors and hire sound. And in my case, I did a musical. So we have a violinist. I mean, you know, we have a pianist. We have a little girl that sings. I mean, we have a lot going on in mine. And so I'm allowed to tell you a few things, but it's about to go up hopefully very soon for pre-order. And I'm sure if you guys follow me on social media, you'll be seeing me share it on my website and all that. But it's called Once Upon a Christmas Carol. And it's also one that I originally wrote as a movie. There was a singer that wanted a movie. I can't say who because something might still happen with a different idea. So when Audible reached out and said, hey, we're looking for somebody, you know, we know you write cute, cozy, fun, romantic comedies. Do you have any ideas? And I literally said, do you have any ideas lying around? So of course I took some movie ideas. And because it was Audible, I thought, what about my Christmas Carol story? Because what it is it's also ironically that someone that gets a Christmas card, she's a singer-songwriter, and she just gets dumped from her music label for somebody younger. She's only in her early 30s, but they want a TikTok YouTuber star. And all she gets before she leaves is this Christmas card that has lyrics with a clue asking her to come home. And throughout, she hasn't been home to Crystal Falls in 15 years. And as she goes throughout, the clues of the lyrics and the Christmas songs that are played. So you imagine with Audible, you're hearing these beautiful songs that are played. There's this journey. And she runs into her first love of her life that is also back in the town, who has this beautiful little daughter. And it's probably, you know, you never have favorites. And it might just be because I just listened to it last night. There's something special about this one, you guys. It just gave me chills. I don't know how to explain it. And even Rose, who is amazing, who is executive editor of all of Audible, she said, you know, she teared up several times. I did too, laughed out loud many times because it is a fun romantic comedy. It just has so much heart. I think Christmas carols are so important and nostalgia and leaning in. And I wrote an original song for it. And I don't write songs. I needed Riley, right? I needed Riley Weston, our also writer, singer, songwriter to help me. But I won't say too much, but I had to for the storyline. And so we have music, we have great characters. And now getting to the drum roll. Remember how I said as a writer in movies, I don't get a lot of control or any control. Like people go, oh, who do you want to cast? And I have not, for movies, ever been asked who I want to cast. You know, that's not in my, you know, it's not what I get to do. Although I have had people in mind and you can say, hey, this is who I was thinking, but you don't get to actually make the decision. But with Audible, they've let me be part of all of it. And it's been so amazing because as a creator of someone that's a little older, not 20 years old, worked in TV, I have ideas. You know, I create my own covers because now I do my own publishing as well. I'm a hybrid, meaning I can have a traditional publisher and do my own publishing house as well. I love the creative process. So that's what we're doing now, going, oh, let's have the tree a little louder. Let's have this sound a little lower. Let's add this sound. So when I had to write the script, I had to write sounds, Ruth. It was crazy because usually you just give a line, magical, like if it was this, I would, oh, where'd you go? So if I was doing this for a director, I would just say, magical, I wouldn't even say red because who knows what the crews are going to find when they scout for locations. I would say magical little home tucked away, magical little home tucked away in the woods, and covered in snow. And the director goes, yeah, I got it. Christmas lights, whatever. Mm-hmm. But in Audible, you don't see anything. So all of a sudden we write what's called exposition, which is a big no-no in screenwriting when you tell too much because the viewer can see it. But you would write, you walked up, you have to all of a sudden think dialogue where you're like, oh, look at this home. Oh my gosh, 2 stories. Look at how the twinkle lights, line the, awnings. Look at the 2 matching Christmas trees by the door. Like, you have to say it. And then you write footsteps crunching in the snow, airplane taking off. So it's so different. And when I said, they said, and we'll talk to you about casting. If you have any dream cast, let me know. And they, sent me a lot of audible actors that are amazing. Oh my gosh. I just realized, you guys, voice actors, because you guys usually are amazing actors on television. Voice actors don't have their great looks, their clothes, their expressions. They have nothing. They can only act with their voice. They are the true troopers in my mind, because I'm just blown away. How only with the voice? Because you can just have a look of one of our Hallmark hotties, right? Am I allowed to say that these days? I mean, I love them all. They're all brilliant and smart, but they're very nice looking too. But they can do a look and you're like, I get it, but they don't have that. So I had gone to Rama Drama, and I had been blessed to meet some of the Hallmark stars that are there. And I had one person in mind, because I thought it's all about the voice, and didn't know this person beyond nice to meet you, and what have you. But I reached out and thought, at first I asked Audible, and they're like, well, send me his reel, meaning his resume. He did not have one. He has never done this, but he was totally game to jump in, and said people had told him that he should do it. It's such a fun arena. But anyway, I actually took some things where he was on some shows, some media, and put it together and made so you could kind of hear his voice and his personality. So I'm like an agent. I don't think he knows this, but I put it all together, and, I sent it in. Anyway, long story short, I was so thrilled that Audible took a chance, not just with me, and it was a big risk for me. When you recommend somebody, you're also putting your own neck on the line, and this was also an unknown. So I'm an unknown writer of this. Here's an unknown star in this audio space, which is different. There's, yes, it's acting and all that, but it is different. And they let me go for it. And long and short, when I was at Rama Drama this year, he came up and said, we're going to do it. We're going to do this. So I just heard him for the first time last night, and these early clips that we're getting ready for release. He's amazing. I knew he would be, but he's amazing. So I am allowed to tell you who it is if you guess.
Okay.
So would anyone like to open it up and see if anyone wants to guess? And why?
Yes.
I have someone.
Oh, do tell.
Go for it, Tim.
Hi, Ruth, and I'm going to cut my camera on in a minute. I was working, so I didn't want to be rude, like looking down while I was listening. But is it Tyler Hines?
I love Tyler so much, and he has such a good voice. It is not Tyler, but he was on my list. I had a list of 5 people, and because he's so amazing. First of all, they all are, and I don't know why. It's kind of like I always go with my first gut reaction, of a voice. But no, he's totally on the list. But it is not Tyler. But that is a very good guess, because who doesn't love Tyler?
Right.
And they all have, let's be honest, they all have good voices, but I wanted a voice that was very distinctive, and with audio is different, because people start sounding kind of alike, like even us as women, right? We can kind of start sounding. And that's the other thing when you're casting, you guys, you want to hire 6 different males that are very different sounding. So when they talk, you know who it is, because we can't see them. So you got to kind of learn, oh, that's so-and-so, or oh, so that's something else to consider. You might have 2 of the best audio guys to play co-stars, but you can't because they sound too similar. So there's so much that goes into it. Let me tell you. Okay, any more guesses? Keep guessing.
Any other guesses? Anybody?
Anyone? Naming any favorite actors that you'd want to hear and listen to? What voice would you just want to sit there and listen to for an hour and a half, 2 hours? Okay, Ruth, it's you.
Okay.
You've interviewed so many people.
Might not be right, but I'm going to guess. Ryan Pavey?
Ding, 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 ding. You're so good. See, I knew that you would know, Ruth. I knew. And obviously, Ruth, we love Paul Green. I love everything about Paul Green. He also is on the list. Amazing voice. There's something about Ryan Pavey's voice. Yep. It's a little deeper than everybody's.
Yep.
It has this deep resonance. And for audio, I thought he would stand out. It would be a different richness. And I love it because the folks at Audible have loved him and working with him. And they said, because of course I was nervous. I'm nervous about, all of it because it's my baby. But I was like, so I want Ryan to love it and have a great experience. And I want them to love Ryan and have a great experience. I feel like I'm, again, like an agent, or if nothing else, just someone that cares enough about, I just think he'll be he's a star in everything he does. He's a good human. And what I liked when I kind of interviewed him about it, just to see if he'd be game and where his head was at with his crazy schedule and all of that, the thing that resonated and why I really pushed Audible to look at him is after talking to me, he said he wanted to continue. He goes, look, he loves everything that he does. You know, he's on General Hospital. Of course, he has a Hallmark Christmas movies, you know, coming out. He does so much. But he says he wants to grow. He always wants to learn new things. And he hadn't done the audio space yet. So he said it was on his list. He hadn't got around to it. You know, he's very busy. And the fact that he took time out of his crazy time of year. And you guys, what's nuts is this is dropping. Audible drops their Audible originals on December 1st. And, you know, Hallmark movies are coming up, I'm not sure the date, but, you know, right now in October. So his movie, he does a Christmas movie for him, of course. His movie could be in October. But no, I think I saw in the press that his movie's coming out either the 2nd or 3rd of December, like right at the same time as the audio project's coming out. So I'm like, what are the odds, you know, that both of his projects and Christmas are coming out at the same time? I thought that'll be a Christmas palooza for him. But I'm just so excited. And one of the Audible people, I think it's okay that I say this, but she had said that his voice, something sounds like, you know, it's kind of like this silken hot chocolate, you know, this delicious voice that's just that, you know, beyond who he is, blessed with physical good looks, of course, as a good human. I think also who you are as a human comes out more in your voice when you can't see a person. You know what I mean? Like you can hide a lot with makeup and hair and, you know, lots going on. But when it's just a voice and you're listening. So yes. So guys, that's coming out December 1st. And before I forget, because I always forget, and then I know that there's more. Okay. 3 things I said I'm doing this year that are new. So my Audible project, December 1st, Once Upon a Christmas Carol, TikTok, which is, you know, they say do the things that frighten you. That frightened me. I'm not shy, but it's just, there's a lot, you know, didn't want to mess up or make a fool of myself, which I probably am, but you know, hey, giving it a shot. And then the other is a lot of people like at Rama Drama. I signed I think last year, 4,000 different autographs from different groups, but I can't get to everybody. And there's some people in foreign countries. And so I decided this year to make it free for everybody that can get free autographs and I found a way and get free bookmarks. I do a collectible bookmark every year. So first of all, here's the 2022. And this is because of the readers. I didn't know, I'm a screenwriter. I didn't know you're supposed to have a bookmark. So this is the new one. And then I sign it, which makes it collectible. Then you have my other ones here, but usually you had to see me, right? Like meet me to give this. But then there's these book plates. I didn't know what they were either. So you guys, I know you probably know, you're so much smarter than I am, but I'm going to show you for those of you that might've been like me. What they are is they're a sticker, and I designed this because it goes with Holly Peak. So see the cute little Holly, and I'm going to sign in this case, I would say Ruth. And then you take it and it's a sticker and you put it on the title page of the book. So this is considered an autograph book. Yeah. All the biggies like Nora Roberts, Jane Patterson, all of the, you know, titans of authors, that's what they do to get as many people as they can. So what I thought, well, how am I going to get them to people? So I got a PO box. My little elves got us a PO box. And now if you send me, and I'm getting so many. This is I just grabbed to show you. I thought we could open one. But if you send me, I tell people a self-addressed stamped envelope, I will put in the envelope the bookmark and the book plate. And I know some people might say, okay, Karen, this year, you know, money's tight. We can't afford your book, but we have Christmas camp or we have another one of your books. That's okay. You don't have to buy this book, you know, you please just send me this self-addressed stamped envelope. Open this up. Let's see if this person did it right. We won't show the names. And then I'll send it to you. And that way you can have it. Now I've had some people that sent 10 names because they want to do it for Christmas. What a great present, right? To do a Christmas signed autograph. Oh, see, this person was a smart person. So I have this, and they did exactly what I said. Self-addressed stamped envelope. The elves, we will be signing it personally to people. So we'll sign their name and we'll put them out here. And some of them I've opened group, they have Christmas cards and sweet messages. I'm like, it just makes my little Christmas heart so happy. So it's a big job. Last year for Once Upon a Book Club, I signed 3,500 and I had it down to 3 a minute. And if you do the math, that's 100 and something hours. And so it was every night, 2 hours a night. And I really couldn't watch TV and Christmas movies and do it. I had to look because I was signing and writing, personal things. But I think it's a way to try to reach more people so people don't feel left out if they don't get to go to Rama Drama or if they don't get to go to Christmas Con. And I haven't been to Christmas Con, but I think that'd be a fun thing to do. Ruth, you need to help me. Maybe that's something we should add on the Christmas list for next year. Maybe that's one of the new things we'll do.
That would be awesome. I would love to see them really build up having more. I love having the actors there, but I would love to see them do a little more. I think it'd be cool. I think it'd be
to have the authors and behind the scenes. Had so much fun this year at Rama Drama, bringing Jeff Fisher, the director of Christmas Camp, and Lillian Harrison, the star of Christmas Camp, and we all three did a panel. And I don't think it's been done like before ever, where you went from the idea of writing it, the director getting it and his idea and how it worked, to the star getting the script and all the behind the scenes stories. And of course, the Lillian Harrison's dad is Gregory Harrison, who we love, and so it was her debut kind of starring in one of these type of Christmas movies. Got to meet her. She just had a little baby, so cute. And she's writing as well, like so many of the actors are. They're writing a lot, trying to do some of their own content. I mean, it just makes sense. And anyone, like I said, out there watching, that's why it's fun on my social media. Specifically right now, TikTok is the quickest one for me to go on and, in 1 minute, give 5 tips. But I think that's really fun for people. And even if, I'm going to be doing a really fun Zoom with Jenny Hale and Nancy Nigel. Yeah. And they both write Christmas books that have been adapted to Christmas movies. And we're going to give tips. We're going to tell behind the scenes. We're going to kind of partner together. So exactly like what we're doing today, if people have questions. But I know today you were so kind, Ruth, to have me on to be able to share about my new baby. It's like a book birthday. It wouldn't be right if I had a book birthday without talking to you, Ruth, because you have supported me from the very first novel. And I don't know if I told you, I want to make sure, the very first, when you had your blog post, and I think this was 2018, the very first one you wrote about me, and I know I thanked you, but I just want to tell you how much it meant to me, because I was just starting in this world and, in the movie world. It was just put my toe in and didn't know anybody. And you reached out, you talked to me, you wrote the most encouraging, beautiful words. And it's words like that that kept me going forward when some of the difficult times that, come with any new transition came. So I want you to know how much you've really, really inspired me, Ruth, and really mean to me. I'll always be here for you and your viewers, and anything that I can do, you count me in.
Oh, thank you for letting me know that, Karen. It seems like one of the things that I do is I tend to reach out to people who are just starting out. I mean, whether it's actors, writers, directors, whatever the case is, that seems to be like where my niche is. And I love that, because I love getting to see someone and then to look back and say, whoa, they were here like 2 or 3 years ago when I first talked to them, and look where they are now, and look at what's happening to them now, and to follow their stories and to just give them that platform to go ahead and share, so that people know you're out there, and so it means a lot to know that meant so much to you.
Absolutely. And it makes a difference for all of us. When you're starting out, and Hollywood is such a tight-knit group, and if you're the outsider looking in, especially a lot of new writers, and actors don't have agents yet, and they're doing some of these, and they're really trying to break in, or they got their first little nibble. And now how do you parlay that into doing more work? And I feel like by you giving us a platform to share, people can see our hearts and see, because you also curate very carefully who you share with your viewers. You're picking people that will give back, that are good humans. And I feel like that also connects us, if it's one degree of connection, that, oh, you've done Ruth's show. Oh, I've done Ruth's show, and then that's why when we met at Rama Drama, you felt instantly like family to me. And that's why all the actors and directors and writers love you so much, because you have given them an opportunity, you believe in them, and you have them back on when there's new things to share, because I feel like we are a family now.
Exactly. Well, thank you for sharing all that. That makes me feel really good. So thank you. So I know that I've got some people here who I know would love to probably come on and ask you some questions.
I'd love that.
And so who would like to go first in my audience?
And don't be shy. I'm getting my Christmas camp. It's not cocoa yet. It's just water, but
But, and I know Tammy's getting ready to release her book. She's got.
Oh, I want to hear about that. That's exciting.
Yeah. Tammy, you want to come on first? Are you up for it? Okay. All right.
Hi, how are y'all?
Doing well. Congratulations, Tammy. Tell me about your book.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you so much. I wanted to ask you, is that your living room?
Oh, yes. This is actually, you're the first seeing this. And in my living room, I usually in July, because I do a lot with Christmas in July, since my very first, Hallmark movie came out in July, I put up this 10-foot Christmas wall. Well, I've had the same one since 2020. So this year I got a new one and I literally put it up right before this. So you all are the first. And I want to show you, I'm like walking around here, like, doo-doo-doo. So it's real. Like, it's not how some people put in the cute little screens behind them. This is actually now in my living room. It's covering up my fireplace, but there's a fireplace down here. I don't have it lit perfectly over here. I'm still working on where Santa can still come down, because hello, we need still a fireplace for Santa. So yes, this is my set, and it makes me feel that I, when I write, I can look at it and I can feel like I'm in a Christmas movie. And who doesn't want to feel that way all year long?
Exactly. Well, it's so beautiful. My husband and I just moved into another home back in December, and so I had told him we had talked about doing an Airbnb one time, and I told him, I'm like, if we do an Airbnb, I want to do it in a Christmas theme. And we live in Virginia, so I told him either in the Williamsburg area or the mountains. And so when we moved into our home, we were I was joking, and I was like, well, maybe I should make one of our guest bedroom a Christmas theme. I was like, yes. And then it can be Christmas in there all year long. So we actually did it. So I love it. And your background is so beautiful.
Oh, thank you. And you know what? There's smaller ones. This one's 10 foot by 10 foot, because that way I can do different content at different times. I mean, and I didn't really know when I ordered the first one that there was smaller ones, but you can have smaller ones. So if you have a wall in your room, it's also fun for your guests. You can put up, and it's a perfect selfie opportunity. Just go on Amazon and put in, because remember, it's during the pandemic, I found it and I couldn't go anywhere, and just put in Christmas backgrounds, and they're so affordable. You're not going to believe it. The hardest part is I'm here by myself, and it's 10 feet. So I don't know if you tried to like hang a shower curtain where one end's down and you're trying to move it. And I'm like, So if I look a little crazy before coming on, that's what I was doing. Because I promised that I would have in my mind, I'm like, for Ruth is so special, and she has my other set from last time. I want to shake it up and do something different. So can I just say I love the idea. So when I wrote Christmas Camp, the Hallmark movie, then I wrote the books. Then I trademarked it and created a real life Christmas camp. I partnered with a hotel. I brought Christmas camp to life. If you go to my website, KARENSCHALER.com, you can scroll down, you can click on Christmas camp. It's in a couple places. The Today Show came twice and did these 6-minute segments. We sold out like 200 room nights in like a minute, like a tweet. Someone watched the Hallmark movie and said, I wish there was a real Christmas camp. And I was like, there is. You can come. And you made Christmas cookies, and we did wine tasting, and I took activities from all the different movies and books, and we bring it to life. And it was 10 days, and it was all these different things you could do. And people came from all over the country. There was people that were 19. There were people that were 75. I had 3 generations. And then everything, we did it. And it was partnered with the Phoenician in Scottsdale, Arizona, which you're like, Arizona. But some people love getting away from the snow. But the plan was I had them in all 4 corners of the country. So I had a snowy one, I had a beach one, because I do this travel therapy is my travel brand. So it was like, what Christmas camp fits your needs? But then the pandemic hit, and we had all the plans, and it's been on hold since the pandemic. But I bet you your Christmas themed room is one of your most popular, isn't it? I bet it is.
It is, and we're still in the process of completing our home still with decorations and furnitures and things like that. And so everyone that comes over, they're like, isn't it funny that the only room that's fully completed is her Christmas room?
I love that. We need to get you some copies of my books, so that will make it complete. And, send you some bookmarks. Then you have to have Christmas books and movies on repeat.
That's exactly. Well, my book that I did that I'm super excited for. I'm not an author. I never thought about, I want to write a book or something like that. But it's actually a short book. It's 14 chapters. But it's actually called Love on Pause.
Oh, I
And
love that title. Good title.
PAWS. So I came up with that. I came up with the cover. It's with a publishing company in Richmond, Virginia, but I did self-publish it. And so I'm super excited. I'm in the final stages of the design. So I just picked out my cover and the back, which the cover is, I'll share it here. But it's very special. It's, so the book is about my dog that I had for 14 and a half years that I, as an adult, was my first dog that I ever raised and went through the process of losing it to death. And so we were very bonded. So the book is about growing up, having a dog that you raise and going through the stages of life, and then the grief process and the things that you go through with the grief of it. And it's about getting another dog and overcoming the grief, but it also has information in it, not just about our story, but about what dogs give us, and about God and how they like heal us. And so it's a short book. It's not long.
But it's a novella. It's a non. Is it non? So it's nonfiction. But we call it, like in the fiction world, we call it a novella. And the fact that you say that, every single one of my books have a dog because of what you said. That's my brand, where I'm going to have a dog, and because dogs are such a part of my heart. Like I had a dog growing up. But I remember when my dog, so I went to college, and when my dog Heather passed away, she was a Shetland sheepdog. My mom went through such grief, like losing a child, because it was like a child to her. And it was, and I wish she would have had your book, but what a beautiful inspiration. And I'm so excited because the self-publishing process I did so I was very blessed to have my first 3 books with HarperCollins, which was still a lot. Anybody that writes a book, I don't care if it's 10 chapters, I don't care if it's 500 pages. It is hard. Less than 1% of people will finish. Then you add self-publishing. All of a sudden there's things called typesetting and how much space between the letters, how many spaces between the lines. I was like, what is that? And then there's copy editing and proofreading. And then, like you said, like on this little guy, you see this beautiful cover. Well, you got to have the back. Then you got to buy the ISBN code. There's just all of these things. So I commend you, and I am so excited. Can you share the cover? You said you have it.
Yeah. So the publishing company actually is doing all of that for me.
So lucky.
I paid them to do all of that. So they went through. My editor went through. Like she edited and they proofread it and everything. So it's been back and forth with me signing off. But what you said was the first proof edit that I got back. I was in tears. I almost quit it. And honestly, like Ruth has been so amazing for me with these podcasts because I've met so many authors that I've been able to speak to. And I kept thinking to myself, don't quit. Like, just because it's hard, keep going, don't quit. And, I'm 49, so it's not like, this is.
I'm with you, girl. Yeah, this isn't something we're doing as a teenager, right?
Yeah, and it wasn't something that I wanted to do, like to be becoming like, I'm going to like quit my day job and become a famous author. Honestly, the book was a personal journey for me, but I feel like it's like a chicken soup book. Like it's like for your soul, like for someone who.
Oh my gosh, I think you need to have that, like a chicken soup book for your animal loving soul. You know what I mean? Like, I think that would make me read it. And you know what? A lot of people say, I've been writing since I was old enough to talk. And I say, I don't know how not to write. Like, it's in my blood and bones. I have to write. I mean, it's who I am. It's saved me on so many sad times where I can escape into my little Christmas, specifically rabbit hole. But for you, I'm sure it was a therapy. We all say, if you're having things, just write down in your journal. But to be able to write a book and complete it, and to take your pain and what you went through, and maybe one other person will be inspired and empowered and you'll help them. It's very powerful to write a book and to know that people. I remember I saw the first person when I was living in New York reading my book on the subway, and I started crying. I mean, I just was like, oh. But then I had it in Barnes and Noble. I had all the usual. I had a fancy book party, but somehow seeing a real person, it was kind of tattered. It was winter, Christmas book, and it was open, and they're in their big puffy coat and hat and scarf, and they're on this New York subway. And they were smiling, and I just remember that moment. I'll never forget that moment. That was when I thought, this is real. I'm touching someone. And that's what you're doing. So congratulations.
Thank you. And that was the whole purpose. And the cover, so the cover is from the last day that we had Chimp before we had to put him to sleep. And it's actually a old painting of a picture that I took of his paw with mine and my husband holding it. So that's where I came up with the title, Love on Paws. And so anyway, it turned out so beautiful. I'm so excited. But my question for you is that I would like to know, so because I'm in the design process right now, like we're almost done. The only thing that we're pretty much waiting on now is my endorsements, which I did get my vet who helped me.
Great.
She took care of Shem. She took care of our new dog. So she read it and because I have the little thing, but I'm having trouble, like, because my publisher said to reach out to people that are famous or people that are authors and things like that you can get to do endorsements. So as a book author, how do you find it? Like, because I'm having trouble getting, like, I've sent it to a few people, but I haven't gotten anything back, or they've said, oh, send it to me. But because I want it to be nice and I want to be able to have some people that will write back in and read it. So how do you, as an author, get your endorsements for your book to be able to, like, have it be put in the book?
I love that question. And, you'll love my answer. I don't think your publisher will love my answer. I don't.
Okay.
My first 4 books, four books, I didn't, because I know I didn't know any authors at the time. I didn't have anybody. It was the same as you. I had so many other things that were more pressing. I wanted to make sure the cover looked good. I wanted to make sure the copy was copy edited good. In terms of the energy of reaching out to people that didn't know me and asking them to read, mine's 380 pages, to ask somebody to read a 380 page book that doesn't know me, someone big enough, right, that would matter as an endorsement, and I didn't think. So I researched, and a lot of my top favorite authors didn't have an endorsement. Now, the biggest thing that I did that's huge is I have reviewers. So HarperCollins from the beginning used NetGalley, which is the best money you will ever spend. I do not get a kickback from NetGalley. But what you do is you put your book up, and then people, everybody from booksellers to librarians to educators to regular reviewers, you see their profile and you get to decide. You pick the one. I always say don't manual, meaning anyone can have it for free, because you're putting your file, your EPUB file up there. And what it is it's before the release. So if you go on my Amazon right now, I think I have 25 reviews. My book just came out. But these are people that have had my book for a month and they review it. Now, you as an author pay for that. But those reviews is what I put in Amazon. Those reviews I put in my press release. These are readers. Sometimes, like, they're librarians, and the librarian will buy the book. So I'll have, like, Library Journal. There's 7 or 8 places besides Publishers Weekly, which is really hard. I've been blessed that mine have been reviewed in Publishers Weekly, but that's almost impossible, at the beginning. I think obviously because I wrote The Christmas Prince, that did not hurt to help me kind of stand, like, hello, so I'll be honest, that's not something easy. But NetGalley, then you get, I think I had the first year, like, a couple hundred people asked for my book. And at first I'm like, I don't want to give away my book for free. I mean, I didn't know. Like, I was like, well, how does this work? How do I know? There's no guarantees. It's their honest reviews. And you get maybe 20, 30% of them. But I have learned as an author, not only is it visibility, because Barnes & Noble asked to read it, right? This is early. So I never had an endorsement from a person on my book until I went to Rama Drama last year, where I met in person Jenny Hale and Nancy. They told me, they go, do you want us to endorse your book? And I'm like, guys, no, you don't have time to read it. They both have Christmas books. They're both in it like I am, very busy with families. And they're like, Jenny was like, I'll read it. And she goes, here's the thing. I'll read their book and I'll give you an overall review. Meaning she didn't say this book is, she said, like, Karen is the Christmas loving queen, because she knows my work, and it was generic, but they offered. So I guess my very long answer is, I don't think you need an endorsement when you're a brand new author. I think reviews from regular people and real people mean a lot more than you'd have to find somebody. Like, if I did a review for you or Ruth, it wouldn't mean anything because we're not in the dog loving world. I mean, we're not in that niche. You'd have to find somebody big enough that was in the niche and do exactly what you're doing. And people are so busy. So I feel like you have to have a little bit of something. I have had, which is kind of funny. And I've had this. So the first year, I didn't even think about it. They did ask, do you have anybody that you could endorse? But I also had a list of 1,000. I was writing movies, a list of 1,000 things to do. And I just decided, nah. Now on my cover, and it wasn't that I was shy. I just didn't want to, I knew it'd take a lot of time and energy. So once I did send it to the press, so I'm huge with press because I was a journalist. So I have a press release and we had sent it out. And so Entertainment Weekly did a story about me. This is because I had movies and books. So again, a little bit different. I was very blessed with this unique situation. And it's on every one of my books where it says, Karen Schaleur, a holiday publishing darling. And so that is like an endorsement. And when you read here, this is what you're talking about. The praise for Karen Schaleur. That's what you're talking about. So I have Publishers Weekly, Entertainment Weekly, Publishers Weekly, Library Journal, and Money Magazine. I don't even have Jenny here. I don't have my Jenny Hale. Now on my Amazon, and how sweet of her to offer. So I guess that's a very long answer to, I know it's a thing. I know a lot of authors do it, but I personally just felt like unless I had a real connection, like let's say your veterinarian said, I absolutely know this woman. She's a bestseller. And I bet you she would. That's where you could put out feelers. If you know anyone in that lane that knows somebody, but it's asking a lot to read the book, for even someone So I just feel like if I'm reading, I'm not going to notice that Shonda Rhimes, someone I admire, says something. I'm going to see Susie Smith that says this made a difference in her life, means just as much to me as someone, quote, famous and recognizable. So you do need, be nice to have some reviews. And I've never put them on my books because I don't get them in time. I don't usually get them in time. And on my hardcovers, I'll have the generic ones, that are more overarching. So let's say you did 4 more books and you had somebody say, she writes to the heart of the animal loving soul, and it was kind of about one of your animal books. Let's say you had a series, then you can use that quote on your new book coming out because it's, more generic. And I'll usually even put based on Christmas camp. So if I have somebody talking about my magical, wonderful setting, and it's not this book, I will put this one. She writes magical, wonderful settings, and then I'll put about Christmas camp, that novel. So I know that's a long answer, but I honestly don't think that is as big an area as you need unless you have a natural fit for a natural person to make it big enough. Does that help?
Yes, ma'am. That's perfect.
But definitely look at NetGalley. And like I said, it's an investment. And there's ways you can partner sometimes in co-ops. And I haven't had an opportunity to do that to make it more affordable. But that's a really great way to get authentic reviews, that are real people that know how to review. And they'll only ask to read it because they're busy too. And they get, their rating. You want a certain rating to make sure, well, how many percentage do they read and how many do they actually put the review, because it's not 100%. And so they only ask for books to read that they're going to review to keep their rating up so they can stay on NetGalley because it's this approved way. So that would be my number one suggestion. And then there's another one called Edelweiss. There's a couple other services, but be careful about these small places that are saying, we'll get you reviews, because some of those are even real. They'll make up names of people, and you want the people to not only give a review on the site that you can pull for your book, you want them to go on Amazon and leave the review, and Barnes and Noble and leave the review. You need them to be real people. So just be careful and feel free. Ruth can tell you to reach out to me if you find a review service to let me see it, and I'll say thumbs up, thumbs down. But kind of the gold standard is NetGalley or Edelweiss. And I would recommend, if there's any kind of way you can go in with ask your publisher if there's some other authors that you can go in together as a co-op, so it wouldn't be quite as expensive. I think the opening one is the one that I do is $499. I know it's a lot. I know it's a lot of money. But I also think that it also gets the word out. It's the early buzz. And you also get, why did people ask to read the book? And it'll say cover, blurb, author. And you kind of get you get all the information, plus you get their emails. So now you have an email list of people that I just reached out and said, hey guys, book came out, please leave your reviews. And I let them know, like right now, I forgot to mention, but if for the authors out there, I'm on Goodreads giving away 5 autographed copies on Goodreads. So go on Goodreads, get your autographed copies. You've got another couple weeks to enter. So those are the kind of things that I definitely would recommend. I think there's so many things that traditional publishing says you must do. But at the end of the day, it's more important that you get your book out and you work on other things, and reach. I'd find 10 media people and you know how you do that? You Google your book. You Google top 5 pet books, top 5, I'm just terrible, but pick appropriate. See, there's authors that are, journalists that are, these are the top 10 books about, this. Then you reach out, hi, I wanted to get on your radar. I have a book about this. Happy to send you a copy. that's where your time should be for sure.
Okay, that's great advice. Thank you so much for that.
You're welcome. And congratulations again. This journey, your first book, you'll never have another experience like your first book. I mean, I'm so proud of you because it is a lot. It's a lot to take in, and it's amazing. I can't wait to see it.
Thank you. I so appreciate it. And the best of luck with you and everything you have as well.
Oh, thank you. Thank you so much. See why I love doing Ruth's show? It's always so fun.
Yeah. I love what I have loved is that the people who are coming on, they follow the same spirit that I put into the show. And I love that. Because sometimes when I tell people about the show, oh, I've got a virtual audience. What? And they're just kind of, but it's like, no, but they're really good. I promise. It's like a positive thing. I mean, I hear nothing but positive feedback from anybody who's been on the show because I've got these really great people. And Paula Cooley, I know you have some questions. She is actually like my unofficial co-host.
Oh, I love it, Paula. Okay, let's hear. I think, Paula, we met. Didn't we meet on one of you?
We did meet. I was on the first one. Yes.
I remember you, Paula. So good to see you.
Nice to see you also. Yes. I have a couple of little questions because are you putting that scenery up yourself, like every single bulb, every single candle?
Oh, I love that you asked. I'm going to jump right in. So yes, I put it all up myself, but it's like a curtain. So it's not really. So let me show you. So it's like, it's this huge 10-foot curtain. So like this ball is just part of the curtain. So I didn't have to decorate it, but that's the hard part to put up. I don't know if you see behind me, I'm wearing my workout pants here. It's always very real when you talk to me, but getting it up, it's like this heavy duty canvasy, like a set. So it's not wood, which would be really, really hard, but I have to kind of tripod to get it 10 feet. And then I have to move it this side 10 feet and you have to clip it on and you have to make sure it's even. And it just came out of it comes folded. So that's why you'll see some lines that will probably be gone by tomorrow. But yes, I think it'd be really fun if I could really have the set and like do it, but it does look real. So you thought this was a real tree. That makes me so happy.
I did. And I wondered where you stored all that stuff because you said you changed it.
Oh my gosh. Well, it's so funny. When someone came to my Christmas camp, one of the sound bites in the Today Show segment, they interviewed her and she said she has, I can't remember what it was, like a 10-foot by 30-foot storage unit that's just for her Christmas decorations in the town she lives in. I'm like, I could totally get down with that. So usually I'm doing Christmas camp and I'm traveling, so I don't even get to decorate my own home. But when COVID hit, and I was also in New York City for 15 years as my primary residence, my place wouldn't even have a little tree. So, I mean, I lived in New York. I had Rockefeller Center if I needed to see a tree, or I'd be downstairs in the restaurant where, you'll see a lot. Every one of my stories has a cafe or a restaurant in it where I take from the restaurants I spent time in New York. Like one of them there was always like 60s, 70s Christmas music. And I thought, wouldn't it be fun to have a tree with the old fashioned 45 records hanging on it, with like red ribbon. I have another one that's a wine bar where, and this is something I do with my friends. If we have wine, we take the cork and we write with a Sharpie the date and who, and maybe it's like book launch or movie launch. And then I have a big glass jar so you can pull it out like a scrapbook. But I thought, oh, wow, you can hang it and have a cork tree. When you have people come over for dinner, whatever wine you have, they can have their ornaments. So these are all things, a lot of this stuff doesn't really happen in my real life, but I'd like it to. So I'm trying to project it by putting it in my movies and my books. So first of all, I'm loving your question because that means this works. This makes me happy.
It did work very well. My sister passed away from COVID and I inherited like 150 Christmas Village houses and they're all in my basement. And I'm thinking, what are you doing with all your boxes?
Oh, yes. Oh my, well, I actually, when I got here to Arizona, where I always had a rental home that helped me pay for my rent in New York City. And I love Arizona. It's such a Zen place. And I had some renters here and they're Canadian. And when COVID happened, they left to go back to Canada so they didn't get trapped here. And I came here because I didn't want to get trapped in New York because my place didn't even have a freezer to, store food. But I have a storage unit, even though I am in 5 times the size, because Arizona, it's very affordable. So, I have 2 bedrooms, 2 bathrooms, just a condo, nothing too fancy. But you could say, well, Karen, put all your stuff in your second bedroom, but I like people to stay. So I went and got a storage unit. There's actually during COVID a wait list for 6 months because everyone was moving here and putting stuff in storage or leaving, or, it's such a transitional time. And that's for my books, because I'll get these huge boxes of books like, oh, the Czech Republic, here's copies. Oh, Germany. And now I have 6 books and, I'm ordering 100, 200 copies. So forget Christmas decorations. I just have it's filled with books and Christmas and my winter clothes that I kept from New York because I plan to travel. And I am right now in Scottsdale, Arizona, where it's still 100 degrees. But yes, I know. But I'd love to see your little houses one of the times because I think they're magical. My grandpa used to make crazy. He was so amazing. He could see a house and take pictures and do scale with little balsam pieces of wood. And he would make these beautiful houses. And I remember there at some libraries in Tacoma, Washington, but he also put on the walls some really cool shelving where he could put them. And you could do that with lights. And I'd have them out all year. I think they sound magical. Or maybe you can partner and put it in the Christmas room.
She had 3 layers high. I mean, my father built a regular wall for her during Christmas. And that's but it's all in my basement now. And I'm trying to convince the grandchildren to inherit it, but I haven't had any takers yet.
Oh, no. Can I be a grandchild? I'll be one of your sisters.
Sure.
Oh, my goodness. And I understand because you want it to go to a good home. You know what I'd recommend? Obviously, that's a huge collection. Maybe pick out 1 or 2 that are your real favorites that you know that your sister loved and make sure you put them out as part of your decoration, even if it's in your own private room. I mean, I just think that's so important. I know she'd love that. And I'm sure she's watching down on you. And, again, you can't have the whole collection.
Right.
Or maybe that's something with your grandchildren. You find one that maybe, and they can have one and they can each have a remembrance of her by having one. And you could put on tape on the bottom, her name and all of that. My grandma lived to be 104. She was amazing. When she was 90, I remember, and she was healthy as could be. We came over and she gave us Sharpies and we were visiting her for lunch. We're like, what are these for? She goes, I want you to walk around and mark whatever you want. So when it's my time, everybody knows what they're getting. And I'm like, Grandma, that is not okay. But to her point, she's like, I want people to have things that matter to them and have good memories. So we'll, so somebody would be like saying, I want the Christmas collection, you know? But I have done that.
I have done that
I love
with my
that.
children and grandchildren. And I said, everything and anything you let me know. And that's so
I love that.
But I also put up start putting up my Christmas decorations outside because up here in Buffalo, I mean, they're planning snow any day now. So it's just I'm trying to get ready for, get the outside done at least, and then I'll worry about the inside.
Oh my goodness. I love that you're going to get snow. Yeah. That's magical. Yeah. So magical.
I do have a question about your audio because I was really interested that you mentioned about it, and I'm going to absolutely look for it because I just did a sleep study last night and they were putting the TV on and go, no, I got my audio book. So I love listening to audio,
Oh, I love that.
So that's what I did. But you wrote that you did a travel therapy TV. Yes. I don't know what that is.
Oh, thank you. I talk so fast. I'm amazed that you even got that much of it. My goodness, Paula, good job. So I was a TV correspondent. And when I left that, I always used travel as my therapy. I used to say I use Hallmark Christmas movies as my therapy and travel as my therapy. And so I put together, and it's called Travel Therapy Trips with an S, TRIPS.com. And I just relaunched the website in February. And so I did it Valentine's Day because travel is so close to my heart. I haven't been talking about it as much. That back in 2008, we were going to turn that into a reality show and show how travel inspires and empowers, kind of take different people with different issues, just like my book, like where do you need to go, in terms of travel? Maybe you're going through divorce, maybe you're going through a breakup, or maybe you've lost, I even talk about a loss of a pet. Like things that, different things and how travel can uplift you and inspire you. And I started doing that when I first quit television news. I was in Afghanistan as a war correspondent, and I came out and I started Travel Therapy Trips. And they were TV segments originally, and they were everywhere. They were on at the airports. So back in the day, they were on AOL. They were on Amazon. They were free on Amazon Prime. but the regular home for them, they aired during Good Morning America, Weekend, Live with Kelly. And it was like Michael and then Ryan, because it was for both, and then Rachel Ray. And this was in WABC in New York City. So it was the New York City audience. You would have probably got it in Buffalo because it was that, area of New York, Pennsylvania, Jersey, and all of that. And I did that for the last 10 years, and it only stopped during the pandemic. And so I'll travel to different places. I'll put together these 1.5-minute like TV segments. And then that's where they're living now on my Travel Therapy Trips website. They're also been picked up by some international groups that air them. There's kind of like Getty Images. There's places internationally that want travel content. So I've been told they're all over, and it's really my heart. I mean, I love travel therapy so much, and it's actually in all my books. And that's why when I was talking about the new book, I was shooting my travel therapy TV segment in New Brunswick, and I included this in Travel Therapy TV. And so I've been to 68 countries. And if you saw my book, Finding Christmas, there's a gazebo that's loosely inspired by Leavenworth, Washington, where I grew up as a kid, a magical Christmas town. But every single one of my covers is a place of travel therapy. And that's why Christmas camp was going to be under the umbrella. Like, travel therapy, where do you need to go? Christmas camp, where do you need to go? And then different locations. So you can incorporate the travel, whether you want that snowy Vermont Christmas, or you're like, I want to be at the beach surfing Santa type Christmas, So it's so close to my heart. And it's been so hard with the pandemic. I just didn't feel comfortable having the Christmas camps or encouraging people to travel, saying, go here, while there's still so many, people that are suffering from COVID and like your loss. I want to be really honorable and make sure that it's safe to travel, or as safe as can be. Travel is a bit of a hot mess too. I mean, I traveled around the summer carefully for conferences like Rama Drama, but let me tell you, it's challenging, right? It's still not, it's not easy, but I still love travel, and I encourage everybody to go as long as they're safe, and make sure they have backup plans, if they're bumped off of flights. Or I still wear a mask, that's my choice. I know not everyone wants to, and that's okay. But thank you for asking, because travel therapy, is so close to my heart. That was my first book. That was nonfiction. That was my very first book. It's still out there. It's not supposed to be. It was supposed to be taken down off of Amazon, but I think it's still showing up there because I might redo it. It came out in 2008, I think. And it's actually not dated. I never gave prices because I wanted it to live, but it's a fun book. It's a colorful book. And you might say, there's a quiz. Okay, I'm going through a breakup. So which trip should I go? And you take a quiz, and then you pick, and then it's the different, if you picked A, here are some places. If you picked B, and there's pull out quotes from different people about how travel's changed their lives. So it's a fun book. That was my first book I put into the world. That was my baby. And it took me 10 years to have my next one, my fiction novel.
I'm going to look that one up. In your education, it said that you had a double major. You did broadcasting journalism and sociology. How has that help you with your writing? Rom-com.
Oh, I love
rom-coms, or the writings that you're doing.
I love that. Oh my gosh, you know what? Nobody has asked me that question, and I do a lot of these. So that is a brilliant, I could see, Ruth, wow, you love this woman. She is like a co-host. She's phenomenal. Yeah. No, that's such a good question. And and the reason I love answering it is because it was a very thoughtful decision as a writer. I always wanted to write novels and movies when I was little, but I had a bad experience as a young kid where I wrote a project and they said I got an A+, but then on creativity and execution, but they gave me a C- because I missed 3 commas. So punctuation. Oh. I'm like, do I speak in commas, people? Do you all hear me pause when I talk and breathe? No, I do not. So I remember as a little kid feeling that was so unfair, like I had created this story. Obviously, commas matter. We've seen the funny things about that, and punctuation we know is huge. You don't know how many editors I hired to copy edit and proofread. That said, when I was young, I thought, well, as a broadcaster, I just have to say it. I don't have to type it, I don't have to, do any of those kind of things. So anyway, with all of that said, decided to be a reporter, because I thought before I write movies and novels, I kind of have to have something to write about. because I just came from a small town. It was just my single mom raising me. Kind of nothing was going on. I didn't have any exciting stories to tell. I was a gymnast, I worked out all day, studied all night type of thing. So I wanted to be a TV reporter. I wanted to travel to third world countries. I always wanted to be a war correspondent, but I really wanted to be a war correspondent because I wanted to go to third world countries. And I wanted to tell about people, diverse people, and different societies. I was fascinated with Africa, the things I'd read as a child, and I wanted to go to Africa. So I picked a lot of broadcasting people in the news, picked poli-sci because they're going to do politics. And I actually worked at CNN. I was on Lou Dobbs' show back in the day where I was a White House correspondent. But I never wanted to do the politics sides. As a matter of fact, every time somebody gave me a politics story or a politician, I would say, no, I can't. I wanted to do the human interest side of any story. So that's why I picked sociology, because I wanted to cover societies and people, not the politics. And it has been huge for me because I remember my women's studies. That was one of my favorite classes. And there were so many different classes in college that took me out of that very small box of where I grew up in Everett, Washington, where it's very small, very limited, and I could see the world. So to me, sociology was a huge way, although I got tricked by my advisor because I was doing broadcast journalism with a 5-year program, and I had moved to have out-of-state tuition. I was a nanny, 17 years old. I moved to California on my own, was matched with a house where I could, be a nanny, go my senior year so I could get residency for college and not pay out of state in California. So next thing you know, the program at Cal State Fullerton was 5 years. Traditionally, there were a lot of people in the classes. So I need to do it in 4 for financial reasons. So I'd stay at Christmas and I would stay at summer and I would take those intersession classes. So all of a sudden, my advisor, I had sociology as a minor, and he said, you're just 3 classes away from getting a major. That'll look good on your resume. And I'm very competitive. And he goes, plus broadcasting, very competitive. And I'm like, okay. He didn't tell me those classes were research, statistics, and what was the other one? Anyway, something that had to do with math that was extraordinarily hard. I am definitely a literary and not the math side of it. So, but to this day, I've done a lot with Cal State Fullerton during the pandemic. I've been blessed. They've featured me, in their magazine, which I love. I'd love to do more mentoring when we can do more in person, but it made such a difference to me taking those classes and having a more global view and a more diverse view and knowing it was out there. I hadn't gone yet. I hadn't seen it yet, but I was going to, and it's why I wanted to travel. So thank you. That is such a good question. I love it.
Kind of falling into the same thing is your war journalism. My father-in-law, he's passed away, but he was war journalism in World War II, and he wrote for the Stars and Stripes.
Oh my good! Oh, you're kidding me!
Yeah, and
that's amazing.
I love
that.
My question is, I know what the family felt when he was there. In how did your family handle you being a woman wanting to be in the thick of things?
Wow. Well, first of all, I had a really small family, so not too many people to be upset with me. No, but I'm only child of an only child, my dad, and then my mom had 1 brother, so I'm a pretty small family. But actually, when I went to Bosnia the first time, I didn't tell my mom. I know what happened is that I'm living out of state. My family's all in Washington state. And I was working so hard. My mom knew I was working on a story to go to Bosnia and be embedded with ground troops, which was my very first experience working in a war zone. But it was impossible. No one in the world had been given authorization. And I was just from a small NBC affiliate in Salt Lake City, Utah. So I wasn't at the network like ABC, NBC, Tonight, anything like CNN. And so I think nobody, even including my bosses at my TV station, thought I'd ever actually do it. And I just am very tenacious. It's sort of, you look at like getting into screenwriting, which is also impossible. I really don't take no for an answer. No just kind of fuels. It's like, it just keeps fueling me. And every door that shuts just fuels me more and more. And so when I got it, I had to go really fast. My soldiers had already left and they were already in Germany in a holding area waiting to go, what we say, in country into Bosnia. So I was going to have to fly on my own with the crazy photographer I'd blackmailed, no kiddingly, convinced to come with me, and then literally drive in a snowstorm, because I remember it was December 19th, my birthday, when they announced that we were sending ground troops into Bosnia. It was peacekeeping, although that was more treacherous than I don't want to say more because any war zone or peacekeeping situation is treacherous, but because we were the first in, there were no hardcover buildings, there were no toilets, there was no running water. It was very, very remote. It was like you'd get a cot and you'd have a tent and it was freezing cold and you would put it in and it would sink all the way down in the mud. And people were hurting their ankles because their boots would sink all the way down, in this frozen mud. And there were landmines everywhere in Bosnia. They were doing that. So back to the question, when I finally got the go ahead, it was like 10 o'clock at night that I could get this flight and I had to hurry and try to get my soldiers in Germany before they went in country. If I didn't get attached to them, I would not get to go. I couldn't just land in Bosnia, obviously. That wasn't allowed. No one was allowed to do that. But it's called embedded. So if I could be embedded with my unit, but I had to find them in Germany. It's a base called Hohenfels. It's nicknamed Hohenhels because it's where you go to get your landmine sniper training and your last minute training before you go into this situation. So I got there and I had to do the same training. They called me Private Benjamin for those that you are old enough that can remember when Goldie Hawn. Yeah. So they called me that. I had a Patagonia fleece before they put me in military gear that was hot pink because it was warm and it was the one I had. But and at the time I had to have shorter hair and wear the helmet and all of that. But anyway, so when I left, I'm answering the long version. There was somebody, it's called Family Readiness, which is who helps in the Army and kind of helps the family members that stay at home. And so I had said, is there anything I can do? And she goes, at that time, there was no, they weren't emailing, they weren't doing things like that, certainly not texting. And so she said, can you take letters from home? I can have everybody, they haven't heard from their loved one, in weeks. So I literally was like the mailman. And so you're limited to what you can take. And I took these letters and I remember she said, have you told your family? And I'm like, well, I haven't had a chance, And she was like, because it was 10 at night. My mom goes to bed at 8, she gets up at 4. And she's like, I'll call them. I'll tell them. And, when I ask my mom's very different from me. She's very quiet and she was a school teacher for 28 years, middle school, health. That's an angel right there to teach middle school for 20 something years. But she's very quiet and she's always believed in me, but I'm kind of the only one that's like this, like the dreamer, I'm going to do it. They're always like, okay. I mean, they never said I couldn't. They just kind of, and then when something would go bad, I remember one time I told my mom something was really negative, like something bad happened and I was bummed. She goes, oh, you'll do it. And I kind of said, well, Mom, it'd be nice if you gave me some sympathy. Like, it's not that easy. And she goes, oh, but you always do it. So my family has believed in me to a point of a fault where they don't question that I'll have a movie or a book or an audio. Of course you will. Because you've been doing stuff like this since you were a kid. And, I kind of break the odds. So they celebrate it, but I'm sure she was very worried. And Afghanistan was another thing altogether because I was embedded with an Apache helicopter unit in an active war zone at 3 different bases. That was 2007. And so, the other was 1995, 94, 95 in Bosnia. And so Afghanistan they knew I was trying to go. I was working really hard to go. And, they knew my mom was like, be safe. But I don't know. If she was worried, I'm sure she was, but she never said anything. She just said, be safe. And, I would that was different because I could text, and I could let them know. And now you could do Zoom, not Zoom, but, back then you had more accessibility. Bosnia was scary because I was a month cut off from everybody. We all were, but that's also one that I'd love to put in a movie someday because it was so visual. It was so hard for me to find the soldiers in Germany. I won't go into it. It's a story for another day. But when I finally did, because I was told they'd already gone and I was told to go home, it was just so many things because nobody wanted the journalist to be part of the group. But I'm doing it. So when I saw their name on the board, like their unit number, when they told me they'd already gone to Bosnia, so too late, got to go home, journalist girl. I'm like, there's their name. They're here and I'm not leaving. I mean, that's fine, but I'm staying right here and I'm not leaving until I see them. And so they made me sit there for 48 hours and I waited. This is the Army, but and different, if you're going into a peacekeeping, they don't need to babysit a journalist. They got bigger things going on. Nobody knew who I was and didn't care about my paperwork. So basically I just kept staying until nobody knew who I was and they got sick of me bugging them and they said, fine, go find them. And I remember I found out they were in the mess hall, they were eating. And I'm in full military gear because I had to, different than Afghanistan. And I had letters from home and it was a couple days before Christmas. And so I was like, Santa, Like I walked in and first of all, I had met the unit prior. Of course, I had met them. They had approved, the unit commander had approved for me to come. You know, they wanted their stories. I wasn't telling the political side, back to sociology. I wanted to tell the lives of soldiers and what it was like leaving family and that heartfelt side, not the political craziness that was happening. I just wanted the heartfelt stories. And when I said, I remember he's like he couldn't believe, we hear me and my photographer walk in, he couldn't believe it. And they all just sort of stared like, and then when I said, and I have letters from home, and that's when their faces all broke into smiles. And I started handing them out. And my photographer got video. It's in the documentary that I did. And I was really blessed to win an Emmy for that documentary. But, you know, just see their faces, it still makes me. But I think that would be a great scene because that's one of the most impactful moments of my life. And I try to put those type of things in movies, you know, and I always have military. There is a military connection in here that's really special too, because I always try to honor military families in my stories, but I'd like to do one that is a lot more. So thank you for asking that.
I got very teary-eyed when you just said the story, and I think that should be your next book that goes into a movie. I
think it would be amazing. I would love to.
And you know, it's Christmas. You could tie that in if you want to, but make it more military. Yeah.
I think what happened is when I've talked about it and when I've floated the idea, it's such a hard thing. You know, Christmas is movies are an escape, and we love the stories of a soldier coming back to the U.S. because, you know, that's one of the Hallmark's most popular, you know, Christmas movies. And forgive me, I don't remember the name. And, you know, it's been out forever, but the soldier has the letter and finds the family. Yeah. It's one of my favorites. And, you know, that's okay. But we've never seen a soldier like me, like showing up at an active base. I think it's just hard because it's a war zone, even though, of course, that would be, you know, fabricated. But does someone want to watch a story about someone in a war zone? So maybe it could be a training camp that's very far away, where, you know, where they're not actually in a war situation, but they still are separated from their families at the holidays. And I think then maybe we could soften it, because I know, to be honest, after I got out of Afghanistan, I did a documentary on that as well. I didn't watch the news of what was going on. It was too hard. It was triggering. You know, now we have trigger alerts. And I don't watch the news now. I did the news for almost 15 years. And it's just hard. You know, the negativity and the shootings, that's what I did for a lot of years. But I choose now to try to put in positivity and uplifting things. And, you know, I honor the people that are still out there reporting those stories. But I decided after so many years, I had won 3 Emmys. I had felt like I had done what I could do in the era of journalism that I was comfortable in. I didn't want to start yelling and screaming on the news and giving my personal opinion. I don't think that would be helpful, which is where a lot of it has gone. And I thought, it's a new chapter. Let's find a way to educate, inspire, and empower people in a different way. And, you know, with travel. So my travel show, which is now movies and books and audio, and I just feel so blessed. And I should be not remiss. This is actually big news that I haven't shared either. And it shows you how much is going on. Mm-hmm. So I write, people say, do you only write Christmas? And of course I have some romantic comedies. One that I wrote 6 years ago that, you know, actually Gary Marshall read back in the day. And then it went up for option, and it was optioned by Oscar winner. And then they stopped making those romantic comedies. You know, it was kind of in the lane of, You've Got Mail and Notting Hill. It was kind of in that era. And then, as you know, there's been this big gap. And then some people say A Christmas Prince really showed the viability of these sweet, wholesome rom-coms, and To All the Boys, and, you know, and all these kind of things started showing up. Rom-coms have come back. So I think that, you know, I tell people I can write beyond Christmas. So I was so honored. Terry Wilson has written for the Hallmark movies. If you guys watch The Darcy, talking about Ryan Pavey, right? Where there's the dog show, you know, the cute little dog show, and there's the whole name of them I'm going to forget, because she has the cutest little puppy herself. And so she brought her real life into this movie series. And so she loves all things royal. So she loved A Christmas Prince, and she loved my book last year, A Royal Christmas Fairy Tale. So she got the idea to gather together about 24 authors, most of them best-selling, USA Today. We're all contributing a novella, so a short, not a royal story. Mine is called, I'll tell you what it is, because I haven't talked about this, called Royal Extra After, as in movie extra. And it's coming out. It's on Amazon now. So I should tell you all, because it's a special pre-order price. It's 99 cents It's going to be 24 royal, wholesome, clean, uplifting stories from best-selling authors, which comes to less than 4 cents a story. And that's just to get the pre-sale buzz. You always hear us authors talking about pre-sale, because that's how you make bestseller. Yeah. So I'm sure it's going to come out in the spring, but I'm super excited. And I got the idea, actually, when I was at the Plaza in New York City. I said, wouldn't it be fun if a real princess is in town? She steps outside to Central Park across the street to get a breather. And they're always shooting movies in Central Park. And they're shooting like a Bridgerton-like-esque royal scene. And somebody sees her and she's, wearing, because she's doing an event, a true event. She's wearing her crown. They're like, no, go to wardrobe. You're all wrong. You look ridiculous, And so anyway, I just think it would be so funny. I have this scene in my head where where she calls out the director. He calls her out for not looking right. Obviously, she's a real royal. And she basically tells him, this is all wrong. You are not doing any of this right. And so I think that's where my jumping point. I always know the beginning and the end, and I'm never sure the middle. But I thought royal extra actor, like she could be an extra in the movie, and kind of now she's going to help. But that's coming out in the spring. And I have 2 other rom-coms that I'm working on that aren't Christmas. I can't share too much, some movies and what have you, but all of them, anything that can make you smile is what I'm hoping to pop back up with Ruth and tell you more coming up, next time, next summer, next spring, to be able to say there's something new to talk about.
Well, we'll have to hear it on your 3rd time you come.
Oh my gosh, third time's a charm. I think it should just be a yearly tradition, as long as I have something new to share.
Yeah, that'd be great. And just where do we get the book plate and the book marker?
Oh yes, absolutely. And I was going to have Ruth put it, but for now, let me find one that's easy to read that I can hold up. So you address it. Oh, first of all, if you go to my website, KAREN SCHALER, SCHALER.com. And you scroll down the first page, you'll see the new book, and it'll say free. I think it says, I'm not sure if it says book plates or free Christmas swag, but you click on it and the page has the PO box. I'm going to give it to you here too. Also, really quick for those watching, every year I have what's called the DIY Do-It-Yourself Christmas Camp Guide. And I take the new novels, recipes, and activities. And so it gets bigger and bigger. It started off with my Christmas Camp movie, and now I've had 6 novels and 4 movies. So there's always something, new content. For those of you that have a pen, I'm going to hold this. I'm going to see. I'm trying to find somebody who has the best penmanship of all these. Ooh, look at this. You just, this is actually from my website. So this is perfect. So there it is. It is, I'm assuming it right there. So it's KAREN SCHALER, P.O. Box 26506, Scottsdale, Arizona, 85255. And you just send me exactly like I showed you, that self-addressed stamped envelope. Just the reason you want the legal size is so it'll fit the bookmark. And you just put your name in a stamp, and the Christmas elves will be signing those book plates for you. And share it with your friends, because when I got the P.O. box, I'm hoping that every time I go, it's like, yay, it's like Christmas for me to get letters and to be able to do this. So it makes it's like a fun thing I do. People go, how do you have the time? It's like, I make time for the things that matter most.
I love book plates. My first job after high school was working in a bookstore, and we used to sell book plates. So
I love that. I feel so ignorant not knowing what they were when my Czech publisher said, I said, would you like me to send you some bookmarks for the folks in Czech? And he goes, well, I could do book plates. And I'm like, so I had to Google it, and then I felt like a ding-a-ling, but I always admit it when I'm learning, because I think it's always good to sell
a lot of them. It was a big thing.
Yeah,
every family
it is a big because having your own autographed copy, and because mine's a Christmas book, I'm hoping it'll be a great gift for people. Like my Royal Christmas Fairy Tale, you guys, I just saw, because I was putting on TikTok, because somebody asked a question if I had written any other royal content. So I said, oh yeah, this one. I just saw on Amazon, it's normally $15.99. It's on sale for $10, the paperback. I don't know why, but it is. So I'm telling anyone, this one, this guy, printing went up, as we know, with the pandemic. So this little guy is $16.99. The ebook's $9.99. So if you do ebooks, that's by far the most affordable one. It's also on thrift books. So if you want to wait a little bit, I do a lot with thrift books. So you can maybe pick up a used copy there in a couple months, where you can sometimes get as much as 30-40% off. So I tell people there's always a will, there's a way. And if you follow me on my KAREN SCHALER official Facebook page, KAREN SCHALER on Twitter. Now, Instagram is weird. It's @travel therapy, but that's because I started it when I had my travel show. It's the only one that confuses people. But I probably gave away 200 books last year. And Ruth knows I'm always giving away books right and left. Well, just throw it up on social media and say, tell me your favorite Christmas cookie, and you guys help me. You help me come up with names of towns, and you help me come up with Christmas traditions. So if the book isn't in your budget right now, so send me the self-addressed stamp envelope, get the book plate, and maybe it's like encouraging good karma that you're going to win.
Okay. Well, thank you so much for taking your time again.
Oh, of course. Thank you for such good questions. I mean, that's what I love about coming on Ruth's show. She always does all her research, and she asks questions that are not just interesting to her, but to anyone listening. And I love that this gets posted, and then people can watch it in their own time. And again, feel free wherever Ruth posts, if you have a question and you didn't get to, ask it, we didn't get to it sometimes, especially in Zoom. So funny, I did this with thrift books. We did a Facebook Live last year for the book launch party. And I said, I'll answer all your questions because we did speed round. When I hung up, because I wasn't watching the chat, I wanted to stay present, and they were watching it, there were 720 individual questions. That took a while, but I did it, so I was proud of myself. And I don't have any ones because, that sounds terrible. I don't have anyone that's pretending to be me. And I'm not saying that's wrong, because you should have social media assistants that know your verbiage, or these are approved things that, there's some answers that a lot of people ask the same question. I actually personally answer, at least right now, I do every single one myself. So you're going to get me. You're not going to get, a bot. Not that I would ever have a bot, but you know what I mean? It's going to be real. I've heard that there's some crazy thing that you can do where I don't know, you give automated, so it's like a bot. It basically answers as a bot. It's no one. You think you're talking to the author and it's some bot. And I'm like, that's not okay. If someone takes the time to ask a question and watch, the least you can do is answer the question. Now, sometimes if I'm Nora Roberts and there's 85,000 questions and I'm in the middle of a book deadline, you might understand, that could take me a while. And one thing I did for a book club, there was about 30 questions, and I just decided to get on and record it like this. And I went down each question and I went, bop, 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 bop. And then I sent them the video and they loved it. So that's also another option I've learned to do, instead of typing. And that way they also could see it at their own leisure. They could make sure they didn't have to scroll through others' questions. So if you guys know anybody with book clubs or looking to do anything, I still do my under the Christmas Camp umbrella. I always talk about my new novel. We do workshops. Sometimes we talk Christmas cookies. We can have champagne, cocoa. We just do all sorts of things between now and Christmas. It's a lot of fun.
Well, thank you, Paula. It was great to have you. I see that I do have, is it Lise? Is that the way you pronounce your name? Am I right?
Yes, that's fine.
All right.
Hi.
Yeah. Hi. I just wanted to touch base with you and tell you that you're sort of responsible for me writing Christmas scripts now.
Oh my goodness. Tell me the update.
Well, I came from a freelance background, and then I got into script writing, but I write historicals, adaptations, some heavy stuff, drama. And I go to Austin Film Festival every year. And I think it was probably in 2019 or so.
Yes, right before the pandemic.
Yes, exactly. I saw you and the writer of Elf and one other, and you probably heard me coughing in the background. I had a terrible cold. I apologize for that. But I really, really enjoyed the discussion. But I'd never written anything holiday-ish at all. But it was just, something I wanted to look into. But I wasn't thinking really seriously about it. Well, then the pandemic hit, and everything just seemed so terrible. And I was talking to my friend who is another writer, and we just said, you know what? It would be really nice to write something uplifting and fun. So I told her about the webinar or the panel discussion.
Yes.
And now we are co-writers. We're on our third script. And one has a shopping agreement with a producer in the UK. So we're kind of hopeful about that one.
Yes, that's amazing.
And another one has, won something in a contest, that kind of thing. So I feel like a neophyte in this entire world, but you are the one that got me into it. I just wanted to tell you that. And we're thoroughly enjoying it. We're having so much fun. just
I just
put on
want
a
to say
Christmas
that
movie.
you don't know what that means to me, because we're like in a vacuum sometime, and I loved Austin. It was my first time speaking at Austin, and I was such a newbie screenwriter, and to be asked, Austin is the festival for writers, and I'm in there with the Game of Thrones guys were there. Remember that year? They were there.
Yeah.
I mean, there's like the real deal folks, although their stories sort of similar to mine, meaning they didn't come from the big world. They didn't know what they were doing. I don't know if you got a chance to listen to them. It was very funny. I'm sure it's online everywhere, but they talk about they weren't really quite sure what they were doing as showrunners and how they had to learn. That's a story with a lot of showrunners. And a showrunner is someone when it's you sell a script and it's your idea. And in television, you have a lot more control over the show. And feature films, I mentioned, you don't, but in television, you do. And then sometimes, like, I could sell a story and I'm a showrunner and I'm like, but I don't know about budgets and I don't know about this. And they usually will pair you with someone that does. But the point of it is, I love that they're honest and authentic when they share their journey. But I can't tell you how much that makes me happy. I had somebody the other day, I spoke at a local college here, and it was someone that had saw one of these kind of interviews and then had heard me say I was in Scottsdale. And at the time, he said, "Are you still here? I teach screenwriting at a college. Will you come talk to my kids?" And everybody in the class, I said, "Anybody writing romance?" Nobody was. Nobody writing rom-coms, fantasy, thrillers, drama. But I did the same. I came back the next semester, and some of them were still there. And 2 of them had written scripts, and 1 of them had it optioned. And that just made me so happy. So I can't tell you, congratulations. And there's never been more for selling them. Like I was sharing before, my journey when I started out, not knowing anybody, no agent, all of that. And so I wasn't in the Writers Guild, the union. And because of that, people love buying scripts from us, when you're not in the union, because you're cheap and you're just wanting an opportunity and you want a chance. And I'm not saying that for every writer, but a lot of people just want that door opened. And I know for me, I felt like, I shouldn't say it, but back then I thought I would write it for free to learn, to learn the process. I have so much to learn. And so when I wrote A Christmas Prince and Christmas Camp, I wasn't in the union. But after that, and I saw there's so much that goes on. Like I tell everyone, you don't have to have a lawyer. I mean, you don't have to have an agent or a manager, but you better have a lawyer. And you better have someone to watch you and your back, because it's any business. Any business, I say you need a lawyer. And I always say, I can't afford a lawyer. They're really expensive, but you can't afford not to, especially in Hollywood. And so there was a lot that went on, and it was expensive with these lawyers, and you kind of needed them. So when I decided I really wanted to be in the Writers Guild Union, which I am blessed to be in, and to get in, you have to work for somebody that will make it a union project. That means they have to pay 2 times, 3 times, 4 times more than they normally would pay. Like to pick up a script from you, if you're not in the union, is going to be a lot less expensive than having to pay my pension, my healthcare, my union rules, right? So it takes, but then all of a sudden the Christmas explosion happened. And I think, and don't quote me on this, a director told me that Lifetime wasn't hiring any union writers. So people like me, Riley Weston was at Rama Drama. She's another wonderful screenwriter. They weren't hiring us because we, have union rates. They were hiring all the newbie writers that they could get scripts for really, 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 really inexpensive. And again, I'm not saying that that's wrong. It, whatever works. And that's how I got in. You can't just start in the union. You have, you know what I mean? So you have to work your way in. But I would advise you, if you hit any legs on any of it, make sure you have an attorney. And there's a lot of things that even when you have an attorney, it can be in writing. But the best advice I had when something went sideways, let's say I had something promised, this is not it, but let's say I said, and if it's made, I get green M&Ms. This is weird to make up. And so it's made. I'm like, where are my green M&Ms? And the people are like, sorry, well, you can't make us give you green M&Ms. You want them, sue us, type of thing, right? Mm-hmm. So what I've learned is even when you have a good contract, it's really the people behind the contract that are going to matter. Like, who is giving you the contract? So before you jump into bed with anyone, no matter how excited you are about Christmas, make sure you talk to somebody that's made movies with that production house or that network. And make sure, if I had checked with any of my situations in the beginning of people I worked with, I would have learned a lot quicker and gone in a different route faster. Mm-hmm. And so I think I shared that in Austin, right? I did share about attorney. Yeah, it's my thing.
The one thing I remember is hang on to your story rights for future sequel. I remember you saying that
my gosh,
2 or 3 times.
It's funny you say that. Well, a lot of people don't realize I had my story rights to my sequel. For a lot of people would assume I'm talking Christmas Prince, because obviously that one blew up and there were 2 sequels that I didn't write. So people assume maybe I didn't do that right. Oh no, I had the right to write those sequels. I chose because I had the opportunity to write a Hallmark and Lifetime movie. I thought, well, that looks good. I'm going to learn from different people, and moved on, to do those. But the reason I always say keep your book rights, because 99% of movies, doesn't matter who I mention, they're going to want all rights. They start with, we'll take everything, thank you very much. And then you have to carve out, well, I'd like book rights. Well, I'd like audio rights. So good example, my Audible project, the boilerplate contract, they would keep everything. Meaning this Audible would go on Audible. I couldn't write a book, I couldn't write the movie, but I negotiated to write the book and the movie. And there's things called holdbacks where I can't do it right away. I have to wait a certain amount of time. There's people get first look deals. I have some things to do, but that was what was important to me. And Audible knew going in, they've been so amazing to work with. They knew that I was a writer of movies and novels. So they were, I'm sure, expecting it. They weren't, they were just waiting for me to go, yes, but can we change this paragraph a little bit here? And even then you got to ask, because the boilerplate will always take everything, and that's their job. But you can ask, they can say no, you can find another way to ask. And there's a lot of times if the money's not there, there's so many negotiations. But I can't tell you, I've been flat broke, but I'd still get an attorney before I'll eat dinner. You know what I mean? Like the attorney. So be careful. Just be careful out there, because the Christmas movie world is an interesting world. And there's a lot going on. A lot of people very anxious to make money in that arena. And there's a lot of rules that get broken, and you just want to make sure you're on the right side, work with people so it's a good experience for you. And I know it will be. So I can't believe I inspired it. That makes me so happy.
Well, thank you very much. We're having a ball.
Well, please just stay in touch with me. I hope if you haven't already signed up for my newsletter, send me a little email. Let me know where it's going. I can help promote you and share your news too, because I just love that. I love that so much.
Fantastic. Thank you so much.
Congratulations. Yes.
Yes, congratulations. That is awesome.
I love that story, Ruth. That's amazing.
I didn't even know. I didn't know that she was going to share. I didn't know that was going on. So that's great.
So awesome.
Well, this may be the longest interview I've had, which is awesome. No, that's awesome. And I don't say that negatively. The stories that you have been telling, I've heard you tell things that I had no idea about. Which I'm so glad. That's what I love about these, is I never know what direction we're going to go. It used to be that I mapped everything out and I would control the conversation. And I've really let go of that control so much. And actually, that's what I love about having my virtual audience, because I let them have some of the control and I step back, and it's made it a much richer experience for me. And that's
and I think that's organic. And as a reporter, when you're new, you write 7 questions if I'm going to go talk to the president of the United States, which I have talked to. But what happens, and they've seen skits where you'd say, this again, I love making these randomly weird ones, but like, what is your favorite color, Mr. President? What is your favorite color? And they'll go, when I was a child, blah, 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 my favorite color is brown and blah, 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 and I had a dog named Spot. And then your next question is, what's your dog? What is your dog's name, Mr. President? Because you're so like, you know what I mean? Like you didn't listen. You have questions to ask and you don't listen. And the best thing to do, as I say, as a reporter, make sure if you have 1 or 2 questions your boss wants you to ask them, but then listen and go with the flow. I never have any notes. Who knows what you're going to ask me? I have had people say, would you like us to send you the questions? I'm like, no, just ask, because make it organic. I might say something that you springs, an idea. I try to remember. That's why I'm like, oh, don't forget to tell them about it. Oh, and the book, the Royal one is called Royal. I should have said that, Royal. If you look under Terry Wilson, which is Teri, she's the name under it on Amazon. That's the one for 99 cents. And I literally put some of my book mail here, like next to me, so I wouldn't forget, because I wanted to tell people about the book plates and about the free book plates, and to go on my website and do all of that. So I'll do that, just things I don't want to forget. But when it comes to the stories, I just think it's so much fun. And that's why I love it. Ruth, you are a great interviewer, because you curate a live audience. You curate comfort. I feel safe sharing. I've shared stories here I've never shared with anybody else. So I just feel like it's a safe, uplifting, inspiring place. And that's because of you. So thank you so much for that.
Well, thank you. That means a lot. Yeah. And by the way, the Royal thing that's on that particular anthology. I pre-ordered it because Tracy posted about it, or not Tracy, I'm sorry, Terry, I knew I was talking about. Terry posted about it. And I right away like pre-ordered it because I'm like, oh, well, Terry Wilson, I don't even know anything about it. Terry Wilson, okay, I'm sold.
I love that. Well, Terry's so amazing. Terry is going to be so much fun. I mean, and I just love working with her. And she's fun to follow her social media feeds too, because she does all things royal. She was just in the UK before the Queen passed, and it just broke our heart. We were announcing the royal book right after we waited the 10 days. We were going to announce earlier and we waited out of respect, but then also to honor her with these beautiful stories about powerful women. And to have this announcement about it. And it's going to be, the only novella I wrote Christmas Camp and Christmas Camp Wedding. And I wrote the novella quickly because we had looked at ideally, hopefully doing the sequel like you always do. And because of it was released in a theater and there was some stuff I still don't know, but that didn't happen. You never know. But that's the only short story I've written. So who says that, you guys? You guys know better than me. There's a great famous quote of a famous writer that said, had I been a better writer, I would have written a shorter letter. It's something to that effect, that it's harder to write short. Yeah. And you can tell how much I talk. So, I mean, I keep my books in the normal length, but I think it's going to be hard to have character arc and journey to give an example, they're all going to be around 12,000, 15,000 words. And this book right here is 90,000 words. So that's a lot to tell a full story. You guys that, writers that tell short stories, they know how to do this. I just haven't done it in a long time. So super excited about it. I'm going to get working on that next month. There, I said it. Now it will be, because it's due. And I have to write my other Christmas and I have 2 screenplays. Lots to do, but all exciting. So I'm just so glad we got to kick off the Christmas season and this way. And thank you for this way. I had to put up the wall, which I'd been so busy that I had not done. So I'm super excited to have the Christmas Karen wall back up and just to see with all of you. Thank you for taking time and a lot of time today to share. And I hope if you're listening or watching that you connect, reach out, watch me on TikTok, follow me, give me tips, please give me tips. Who is a TikToker out there? I need some tips. I'm having so much fun though. But you guys, I think, at the end of the day, just my encouraging words of the day that I always I just made this up, but I mean, thinking of something is try it. Just like you heard, you think, well, I don't write that lane, but I'm going to try Christmas. You'd be surprised. So I think my quotes are going to be the same that my other podcasts had put out. If you always do what you've always done, you'll always get what you've always gotten. Yeah. So I'm doing 3 new things at least. That was my promise to myself. And I'll let y'all know next time how it works out.
That's good. I'm so excited. Before Linda, did you have a question you wanted to ask? I didn't want to overlook you. I had a feeling that maybe...
Yes, I'm here for it. I can do speed round. If we have some questions, I can happily do speed round. Hi, Linda. Hi,
okay.
Linda.
Hi. When Tammy was talking, I know Tammy has a border collie, right, Tammy? A border collie was your dog. I believe so. But that,
yes,
and I have.
It was.
Pardon me?
Yes, it was border collie.
Border collie, and my good friend, she's an author. And she doesn't write. She writes more mystery stories, but she also raises sheep and has border collies. So she may be able to help you find people to read your books that know about border collies and they're working sheepdogs. So
oh yeah.
I can get that information to you.
Oh, I love that. See, this is what we do in the sharing. And I didn't realize it was a border collie. So I grew up with Shetland sheepdogs, which are also in the herding family. Right. And I have a border collie on my Finding Christmas book. They're so smart. I love them so much.
They're most intelligent. Yes.
They are the most, I think I'm prejudiced, but I think they're the most human-like.
I don't know if she's written 3 or 4 books, and then she also has a couple children's books, but there's always sheep or dogs in them. And she's originally from California, but she lives in, I think either northern Texas or northern Oklahoma right now. They moved. And so her name's Marlene Bell, and I don't know.
I love that.
Haven't read. I've written her children's books, but no, I didn't read her other books because they're not my style. They're not Hallmark movie style books.
And you know what I would say? I think Linda brings up a really good point, because I didn't mean to say give up on the endorsements. I just wanted to be really real with you that I didn't do it because I just was so overwhelmed with so many other things. It wasn't a priority. I know publishers love them though, all publishers. But I think Linda brings up a really good point that sometimes just going in your email list and picking your top people, it could be your aunts, your uncles, your friends, and say, hey guys, anybody know someone in this world? I'm looking for an endorsement, but you really need a personal in is going to help you. I think just blind reaching out when everybody's so busy is going to be rough. So that personal in, but look at Linda, like here, she had a great idea. So I think putting it out there in the world, you'd be surprised. Somebody might come back at you that said, oh, my daughter's preschool teacher, or, who knows, there could be a way to do it that way, very organically.
Right. And plus Marlene is an author.
Right.
And I've heard her stories about putting out and then getting them back and rejected and have to do it again and again. She's been doing it for the last several years. But before that, she was a sheep breeder, and we traveled all over the United States showing at sheep shows. So I met her. I'm from Pennsylvania, met her at sheep shows all over the place. And I still keep in touch with her. Plus, I know a zillion other sheep breeders that have border collies, and so they may be able to help you.
See, this is perfect. This is what it's all about. With the Writers Guild, we have something called First Fridays of the Month, where we all get on, and the moderator, Jim Arnoff, he's been a manager, an agent, an instructor, and he basically gets us all together. We all say who we are, what we're working on, and he goes, okay, who needs something? Wow. Literally. And then I might say, well, I'm looking for an agent. And then somebody goes, oh, I know. And it's kind of what we just did here, right? That it's just building a community where we can all help each other. See, Ruth, what you've done? This is amazing.
And also, Ruth, you can tell Karen how much, like Karen said, she has had travel therapy or whatever that's travel therapy.
Yes.
Well, perfect. How many times have I gone on a trip in the last 2 years?
Oh, yeah.
I have done nothing but travel.
Yeah.
Because I was stuck up for COVID and then I got out there and I've been everywhere.
I love it. I wish I could. I had my dad to take care of her. I would have been right out there with you. I think that's amazing. Travel is, I used to write all of my movies I wrote in foreign countries. I would go for a month and be immersive in a small town, like in Portugal. I was in a small town in Spain, a village, and I become very immersive. So I'm getting travel therapy while I'm writing my stories.
Well, I've stayed in the United States and Canada. My first trip to Vancouver was just last month. So.
Oh, well, all the movies are shot there. Your Hallmark movies are shot there.
Actually,
know this, Linda.
I went to When Calls the Heart behind the scenes sets. I was on the Hardy's reunion.
Oh, my goodness.
Yeah,
oh, my goodness. That's amazing. I'm so glad you got to do that. Oh, that's so special.
Great.
I love it. I have loved this time with you guys so much. I can't even thank you for making the time and for all of us sharing. I feel like this was such good energy. I'll have to just watch it back when I need a little boost of energy and positivity.
That's awesome. Yeah. Well, and thank you, Linda. I'm glad I brought you on. That was good. That was a great way. Great connection there. So thank you. And so if you guys would like to, I'm grateful to you, Karen. Of course, I can't tell you how grateful and how wonderful it was to have this time with you. But if you guys want to unmute and tell Karen again how grateful you are, thank her, go for it.
Oh,
well, I did meet you in Roman drama. I was at Roman drama, so I did meet you there. So.
Oh, it's so good to see you again. That was such a blur. There were so many.
Oh, I know. There were so many. Yes.
Now, did I meet you in Nashville?
Mm-hmm. I was at Nashville and I was also at West Palm. So
you were in West Palm. Oh my gosh. Yeah. That's the one that they kind of had me like hidden off to the side because there was a mix up with booths. And so I was always like, I'm over here. Some people found me. It was like, where's Waldo? Where's Karen? So, how amazing. You have been traveling, young lady. Oh, I love it. Well, Linda, thank you so much.
Thank you.
It was nice seeing you again. Hope we'll be on the third podcast again someday.
Absolutely. Well, Paula, thank you. Your questions, I look forward to them. I forgot what a great interviewer you are. I think you missed your calling. And I'd love for you to tell a story, about your grandfather. I think that there's a story there too. I think there's some really beautiful World War II stories. And as we're losing the last of our World War II veterans, I think that there's never been a better time to really honor some of those stories.
Yeah. Well,
thank you, Karen, and thank you too, Linda, for that information.
Okay. If you need any other, let me know.
And good luck for your launch, your book launch. I'll be thinking of you.
Thank you so
much. I put my thanks in the chat, but I'll say it aloud. Thank you very much, and wishing you well with your dad. Hope his health improves. So, and I'll definitely be signing up for your newsletter and hope to keep in touch.
I can't wait. Thank you guys. Thanks for making this so special. And Ruth, thanks for curating always such an amazing group of inspiring women where we can all uplift each other. I mean, it's more than just sharing our stories. I really feel like it's like, Christmas book, Christmas author, screenwriter therapy for all of us, right? We get to share some positivity, and I can't think of a better way to start the week. So thank you.
Well, good. I'm glad. It was a joy to have all of you here. So thank you, and have a great rest of your week.
Okay. Thank
Bye, you guys. Merry early Christmas.
Yes, Merry early
Christmas.
All right. Okay. Bye-bye. Well, what else can I say? Karen Schaleur, one of the most amazing individuals on this planet. I don't need to say anything else. She said so many amazing things herself. She answered questions. She's gracious, she's kind. Christmas Karen, that's her. No doubt. I really hope that you enjoyed this. That is my prayer, is that this was an inspiration. I know Christmas is over at this point, but did you know her Audible that she talked about, her Audible book, Once Upon a Christmas Carol, that musical one that she talked about, that Audible, not Audible book, but Audible original, it's free on Amazon Prime. The video that goes with it is free on Amazon Prime for a short time, so get it and watch it. I know I'm going to. I'm excited about this. If you enjoyed this, I would humbly ask that, first of all, visit all of Karen's links. They're in the show notes. Please follow this woman everywhere you possibly can. You will not be sorry. Secondly, I'd love it if you would rate, review, subscribe on Apple Podcasts and YouTube. Give me a thumbs up. That'd be great. Subscribe. All these things. I can't believe the podcast is a little over a year old at this point. And I am looking forward to sending even more special podcast episodes your way. There's plenty more coming. I know I've kind of got a backlog, so watch out. It's coming. Watch out these next couple months. You're going to have a lot to listen to. So please jump on in. We are going to just have a ball as we continue this miracle podcast that God gave me, and you guys continue to support me and make it happen. So thank you from the bottom of my heart. I love every one of you. And here's to the most amazing 2023 ever. God bless you all. All my love.